Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Today we're reading with the crew, The Entrapment of Brendan Dassey, Part 7.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jack61. It looks like it's just us two for the time being, but hopefully other panel members will join us a little bit later. Real life happens, of course. But guys, both Jack and I like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a real privilege to have your company, no matter what platform you're listening from, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, and also on X. Again, thank you so much for your support. We realize that the podcast series that we're doing at the moment is pretty tough going. Anything to do with Brendan Dassey is not easy to go through, but I believe it's a story, it's a narrative that we must pursue. And as Jack61 pointed out, we'll be continuing our series, Reading with the Crew series. So before we start, I'd like to welcome our panel member, Jack61. Jack61, how are you coming along, good sir?
Doing pretty good. Been, busy with, one thing or another. Been some fairly lively discussion continuing on X, other platforms. There's some discussion on Facebook, but it's old ground that I'm not even going to get into. It's crazy. But yeah, pretty lively discussion on X. Mr. Christ, I did ask a question, I guess it was a week before last now, or maybe the beginning of last week. I don't remember. Whatever it was, hasn't been too long ago, about a FBI animation that he had listed on his exhibit list that he had typed up. Now, this is not the actual court exhibit list, but was created a month before trial.
Yep.
It was pretty close of things he was going to use. Anyway, I asked about this FBI animation, knowing that nothing like that was presented at trial.
No.
And he did answer and said that, something was, it wasn't completely finished, but they had prepared something, but he decided not to use it because he didn't want to get too techie, because he already had the one from Austin that had been prepared. So he decided not to use that video, which I appreciate him answering and letting me know, because I was actually going to request that video, but if it's not complete, it probably didn't get turned in. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I have heard nothing from the DOJ. I've heard nothing from CASO. On the CASO request is multiple items that I sent.
Yeah.
June 2nd or 3rd. You know what those items are, Doc? I've heard nothing. And there's nothing weird in that request. I have heard nothing.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Anyway, want to welcome everyone into the, listening for Brendan. Brendan talking this. You're doing this really, really deep dive into Brendan's case. It is difficult, but it really needs to be done to fully understand what the investigators and the state did to that kid.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt. And it's a very important part of the narrative of what allegedly took place. So we're definitely going to be doing that. But today is a bit of a mixed podcast. We're going to be looking at some of the concerns and questions that people have raised. And at the moment, I'm having some really great discussions, both on X and also to some individuals in our chat on our YouTube videos. And they're really welcome. People are being really civil, which is awesome. So, guys, so we don't waste any time, let's make a start. Jack61, if we can have the opening title slide, please. I'll explain what we're going to be doing today. So, as you know, guys, we're going to be continuing our Reading with the Crew series entitled The Entrapment of Brendan Dassey. This has been put together both myself and Neverly, and also input from many Foul Play members. We're on episode number 7. So what we're going to be doing today is something a little bit different. Now, as you know, we have been reading Brendan Dassey's interrogations, but there's something that I discovered that fits in quite well, and that is we're going to have a look at the MSN chat logs of Brendan Dassey that took place on February the 28th, 2006. Now, this is very, very interesting, some of the comments that he makes, and we're going to be presenting them to you. But we're going to ask a very important fundamental question, a question that many people have been asking for many, many years. And that question is, did Brendan Dassey really see Teresa Halbach chained up to a bed in Stephen Avery's trailer? If he didn't, where did he get this information from? Where was he getting these shocking recollections from? Was he there? Did he really commit this horrendous crimes against Teresa? Or did he get this information or scenarios from somewhere else? And we've been having a really good debate, like I said, in our last YouTube video in the chat. So hopefully today I can answer some of your questions in regards to that. And another aspect we're going to look at in this case, why was Mr. Kratz so obsessed with the handcuffs and the leg irons that were found in Stephen Avery's bedroom? There's been a lot of work and effort placed into those handcuffs and leg irons, as well as their analysis. And remember, both the handcuffs and the leg irons play a very important role in Brendan Dassey's narrative. So we'll be having a look at that. The other thing, of course, is, as you know, we've started Brendan Dassey's March 1st interrogations. But as we've been doing in this podcast, we're going to be fast forwarding both back and forward. I'm going to provide to you two examples, right, Jack 61, two examples of where Brendan Dassey is recanting.
Oh, yeah.
Recanting his narrative, right? And this is very, very important because, as you'll see, Brendan makes all these big statements of what he allegedly and also Stephen did to Teresa Halbach. All of a sudden, you'll see that he's now recanting. He's now changing his narrative yet again. Then we're going to continue our interrogations of Brendan Dassey that took place on March the 1st. And if we have time, guys, we'll answer some of your questions. If you have any questions, please place a Q and we'll try and answer your question at the end of the podcast. Again, guys, consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy our podcasts, and please give us feedback. The important thing is, please share our podcast no matter what platform you're listening from. We really do appreciate it. We do read your comments and act upon them. So please write down your comments in the chat. Jack61, myself and other members, we do check them, read them, and we try and answer them judiciously. I want to warn everyone, today's podcast is going to be a very tough going one, right, Jack61? The subject matter that we're covering is brutal. It's not easy to do. So please, guys.
It is tough, Doc. Yeah, it is tough. And we understand that for a lot of people. But, you know, I just think that we have to embrace it and not push it away. Because if you really want to understand what they did, you have to open yourself up and get your head in it, as it were. And I know it's hard. I get it. I got kids. Brendan's age, you know.
Yep.
So.
Yep, correct. My daughter's the same age as Brendan. Hey, Cherie, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Cherie.
Thank you. Hi.
Good to see you here. Yeah. So, you know, some of us, we're parents. We've got children the age of Brendan now. And so we understand how tough this type of material is. So please, viewer discretion is very strongly advised. Okay. So, guys, the only thing that we ask is please be civil in your comments. As you know, sometimes a family member may come into our chat to listen into our podcast. Again, guys, thank you so much and welcome, no matter what platform you're listening from. All right, Jack61. So if we can have a look at the very first slide. So, in order to give a complete picture of what transpired here, we're going to have a look at the February 28th MSN chat logs for Brendan Dassey. Now, as you know, Brendan was interrogated 3 times on February the 27th. Both himself, his brother, and his mother, Barb, they were taken to Fox Hills. They were taken to Fox Hills for protection. They didn't want Brendan or his mother to be associated with their respective families and other friends. They wanted to protect Brendan in case somebody wanted to harm him. What is interesting, though, is that one day after, they send them home. I believe that the day after, on February the 28th, Brendan goes home. I believe he went to school and life carried on as per normal. So all of a sudden, the investigators must not have been concerned about Brendan Dassey's well-being. It's interesting. However, on the 28th, the very next day after he was interrogated, Brendan Dassey sent some very interesting MSN messages. One day after the interrogations continued on March the 1st, and that's what we're doing at the moment. At the end of those interrogations, Brendan Dassey gets arrested, basically for what he told the investigators. As you know, guys, and we've covered this before, on April the 21st, 2006, the so-called Dassey computer, which was labeled Brendan Dassey's computer, right, Jack 61 by Mr. Kratz.
Yes.
Right, Brendan Dassey's computer, it was seized from Barb Yunder's residence by DCI agents. A DCI report was written by Fassbender, and from that report, he analyzed the contents of what was on the computer, and that's where we get the MSN chat logs. Jack 61.
Yeah, and I promise that I don't want to muddy the water, get off on some crazy side tangent, but I think for context, I have to add, we can't forget the involvement of Wiegert and Baldwin in January and February on Marie.
Correct.
Candy's involvement with that.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, if she's in contact with these people, and then she's in contact with Fassbender. That's what leads to the April 21st seizure. Yeah. She's the one that called him.
Yes. In fact, I believe, and you'll see it actually in the chat logs, Marie Avery is involved as well. Okay.
Yep.
Very, very interesting how it all transpired. So when Brendan came home on February the 28th, he had written and was in conversations. And what we've got snippets of those conversations. They're important that we read them. And again, please, again, if you're sensitive, don't tune in, right? These conversations are very important because remember, keep in the back of your mind, he's already been interrogated 3 times one day prior, right? And what does he tell Fassbender and Wiegert? That he was at the fire with his uncle, Stephen Avery. And what does he admit to seeing? Toes, body parts within the fire. So it's very interesting what Brendan tells his friends and what they tell him. So Jack 61, if we can have the very next slide, please. So these are the MSN chat logs of what took place on February the 28th, but also there's one that occurred on March the 4th. So Jack 61 and Cherie, do you see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Jack 61, would you like to start first, read the first paragraph, and then alternate with Cherie? Is that good?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go for it. So Jack 61, you go first, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. On February 28, 2006, there was an instant message it's spelled wrong, conversation between an individual using the screen name for life, believed to be Brendan Dassey, and an individual using the screen name Pick Up My handbrake my fingers, and when they feel numb, I'll let you know. I will be I'll let you know. I will scream until I'm out of breath. That's a hell of a screen name.
That's a big screen name.
Yeah. It says it's got some dummy Fabian, believed to be Danny Fabian. During said conversation, Fabian asked Dassey why detectives wanted to speak with Fabian's brother, and Dassey stated they just wanted to ask him why Dassey was losing weight.
Okay.
On February 28th, 2006, there was an instant message conversation between Dassey and an individual using the screen name, I Gotta Make It to Heaven for Going Through Hell. Slow motion for ya. 10914959196. Believed to be Emily, a recent girlfriend of Dassey's. During said conversation, Emily asked, do you think he is guilty? Dassey responded, yeah. Emily then asked, why do you? And Dassey responded, I don't know enough to say.
Okay. On March 4, 2006, there was an instant message conversation between an individual using Dassey's screen name of For Life who identified themselves as Brendan's mom, and the person utilizing the screen name Emily, believed to be Emily. During said conversation, Emily advised that her mother doesn't want her to be involved with this, and she apologized for that. Barbara Yonda responded, he's not a bad person. His uncle is.
His uncle is, right?
Yep.
So isn't it interesting? So this is between the February the 28th MSN chats. We're in between when Brendan got interrogated the first time to when he's being interrogated now on March the 1st. Interesting that you know that the investigators went to talk to Travis Fabian, right? They went there that very, very same day. And
Yep.
his brother is asking, what the hell are those detectives talking to my brother? And Brendan says, they want to basically know why I'm losing weight, right?
Yep.
But the second one, when he's talking with, who is it, with Emily, where he goes, I don't know enough to say,
Exactly.
right? About whether his uncle is guilty or not. So, guys, I'm getting the impression that Brendan is being convinced that his uncle may be guilty. What do you think?
Well, I think that's certainly on the table. Absolutely. I mean, again, we don't know what else been said to Brendan and
Yep.
other conversations before he's arrested, right?
Yep.
We just don't know. We don't know.
Yep, correct. But don't you find it intriguing that put it in the back of your mind? If Brendan Dassey committed this with his uncle, then Brendan must know not only is his uncle guilty, but he's guilty, correct? If they were
Correct.
both involved in doing this. Yet Brendan, to his girlfriend, goes, I don't know enough to say. Isn't that a very interesting response? Right?
Well,
He's
I
like
think he's flat out saying, I don't know.
exactly. He never said straight out, oh yeah, my uncle's guilty. Oh yeah, that's real shocking. I saw these body parts, etc., etc. He goes, I don't know enough to say. Right? But it continues. So Jack 61, if we can have a look at the next slide, please. All right. Cherie, were you next or was it Jack?
I think I am.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay. On February 28th, 2006, there was an instant message conversation between Dassey and an individual using the screen name Junior Mafia Nices Bitches. Bitches everywhere I look, there is bitches. Julie, I love you to death. Super hottie and a long number. Believed to be Travis Fabian. During said conversation, Dassey asked Fabian if he thought Stephen was guilty, and Fabian responded, IDK, for I don't know why. Fabian then asked Dassey if he felt Avery was guilty. Dassey responded, yeah, Emily asked that to me. Fabian asked what Dassey said, and Dassey wrote, yeah, and yeah. Fabian then repeated, you said he's guilty? You said, yeah, he's guilty?
On February 28th, 2006, there was an instant message conversation between Dassey and an individual using the screen name Friendship is Long Lost Love that you wish you'll be able to overcome. Wingless Angel, believed to be Marie Avery. During said conversation, Dassey asked Marie Avery if she thought Stephen was guilty. Marie responded, yes, 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 yes. Finally, but
Finity.
Finity. Okay, yeah. Dassey then wrote, so do I now of the evidence they got. Wow.
Did you hear what Brendan said?
Yeah.
So do I now of the evidence that they got. Now,
Yeah.
remember, this is still February the 28th, Jack 61.
Yeah, and I've noticed here too, they didn't include any timestamps, which is irritating to me.
No, but don't you find that an amazing response? And who does he say that to? Marie Avery.
Yeah.
What's all the cadaffle going on between the relationship between Stephen and also Marie, right? And all the fallout of that and all the problems that it's caused for both Stephen and also for Jody. And Brendan now says, so do I now of the evidence that they got, which is a funny way of saying it, because Brendan is acting as though he knows nothing. He was not involved. He's got no idea. And he's now convinced in his mind that Stephen must be guilty. Is that the way you guys see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's like there's other conversations going on too, because he's went from I don't know, I don't know enough to say, and now he's talking to allegedly Marie.
Yep.
I said allegedly because I'm not entirely convinced that it was Marie.
Well, you could tell people have used each other's accounts.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced it wasn't Candy that did this. I don't know that. It's speculation. It's a leap. I understand that.
Yep.
But considering her other involvement, I'm telling you, I would not put it past her to have done this. That's me.
Correct. Well, in effect, it's a form of payback, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
a form of
Okay. And her goal was to get her pound of flesh out of Stephen, and she did not give a damn how she did it.
No. In actual fact, we've heard telephone conversations that were played on cam where, she basically said, well, Jody doesn't give a shit if he goes to prison, gets the electric chair or whatever. So it's incredible, the massive turnaround that we saw in Candy, right? Huge turnaround.
Well, yeah, from early November when everything was going down, she was protecting everybody, and man, she did a flip flop that would make any fish out of water jealous.
Yeah, and also the big whopping fire. Right?
Oh my God.
Okay, so I find this interesting. One day before Brendan gets arrested, he goes, yeah, so do I now the evidence they got. My impression is this. The job of the investigators were to convince the family or the family members that Stephen did this.
Of course, that's the part of their divide the family, and they did.
And Skorlinski told Brendan on November the 10th, stop protecting your uncle. Remember, he said that we believe that Teresa Horbach was cremated in Stephen's burn pit. Don't protect your uncle. Little did he know that Brendan know that one day after, he was going to confess to rape, torture, mutilation, and cremation. and get arrested, right? You look at these conversations, guys. He's a 16-year-old kid, and he says to Marie, "Oh yeah, so do I." Now the evidence that they got. So, guys in chat, put down your comments. What do you think about what Brendan said? Right? Interesting. All right. So, Jack 61, if we can have the next slide. So, those were the MSN chat logs that we know that Fassbender wrote down. Let's fast forward. This is very important because now we're going to come to a very controversial part of the podcast. So now this is Brendan Dassey during his trial. And on the left, you can actually see they played his interrogation on March the 1st, which is what we're reading out to the court. Except, of course, right, Jack 61, right, Cherie, they didn't play the whole lot.
Hour and 38 minutes was cut.
They left it out. Right?
Did they play it while he was on the stand, or is that just the way it's set up?
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether he was on the stand, but they played the whole lot,
Right.
about 3 hours or so. They didn't play the entire interrogation. Brendan was there.
Yeah, the entire interrogation's 5 hours and 1 minute, I think, and they played all but an hour and 38 minutes, which, of course, included the part where Barb was in there, and he tells her they got into my head.
Correct. They didn't play that part. Anyway, the purpose of showing this slide was, as you can see on the right-hand side, that's Tom Fallon. And Tom Fallon, he was the prosecuting attorney that was questioning Brendan. And he showed Brendan, right, guys, if you could remember, he showed Brendan all this forensic evidence. And what he's got here is Brendan Dassey's pants that were stained in bleach. No matter what Tom Fallon showed Brendan didn't flinch at all. He didn't react at all, no matter what Tom Fallon was showing him. Like nothing equated to what had occurred to Teresa Halbach. Brendan Dassey was nonplussed at all. He's the same type of kid that he was in his interrogation to what he was in the courtroom. But I give kudos for Brendan for taking the stand, because Tom Fallon asked Brendan a very, very important question, right? Now, remember, allegedly, all these horrible things occurred to Teresa Halbach. And Brendan, you could tell, was recanting. I never did it. I don't know why I said that. He was recanting during his conversation, during his interrogation. But Tom Fallon asked him a crucial question. Jack 61, if we can have a look at the next slide, please. And this is very, very important and very, very controversial. Jack 61, can you read Tom Fallon's part? And Cherie, can you read the answer, which is Brendan Dassey? So this occurred during the interrogation.
Okay, this is day 7, April 23, 2007. Tom Fassbender. Okay. What book that you read ever had the story of a woman chained to a bed, raped by 2, raped, stabbed, and then her body thrown on a fire? What book was that, sir? Sir?
Cherie, I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe it was called Kiss the Girls.
All right. Who wrote the book?
I don't remember his name.
Okay. Now, you can see the title of the book. It's called Kiss the Girls. It was written by James Patterson. And it's interesting. This is what I found very, very interesting. Right, guys? Brendan Dassey gave a response. Normally, he would have said, I don't know. Right, guys? That was his normal response. I don't know. But interestingly, right, Jack 61, right, Cherie, he actually gave a response, and somehow out of the air, he plucked Kiss the Girls. and he said he read the book, right? Very interesting. So the question is, how did Brendan Dassey know allegedly what occurred to Teresa Hallbach? Where did he get all this detail from? I see basically three options. A, he was there. He had committed these horrendous crimes to Teresa Hallbach. And that's why he can say what occurred to her. He was there. B, he heard it from somebody. Somebody told him this is what occurred to Teresa Hallbach, and he's simply retelling the story, the narrative. Or 3, he made it all up. Where did he get all this detail from? He got it from either the book or the film, right? It's either one of those options. He was either involved, he was there, so he remembers these horrific events because he did them. Or he got the details from either the book or the film. And I'm going to show you what I believe, and these are just my personal opinions. I believe that he got it from the film, right? Because what he was saying to Fassbender and Uyghur, which is what we've covered in the first part of his interrogation, is truly horrific. And he gives certain details. Now, if you distill it down and break it down, right? What does he disclose? What does he tell Fassbender and Uyghur? A, he says that he noticed that Teresa was chained up to Stephen Avery's bed. She was chained up with handcuffs and leg irons, like that. So that's important. She was chained up to the bed. What did they do to Teresa Hallbach? They used weapons, a knife. What did they do with that knife? They used it for several purposes. They used it to slash her throat, cut her throat, to stab her, and also to cut part of her hair, right? They were then involved in sexual assault. And again, this is very unpleasant, but these are the things that they said, that Brendan said to the investigators, right? They then burnt her, cremated her, right? Placed her in the fire. So they're the basic elements of Brendan Dassey's narrative. Jack 61, Cherie, do you agree? When you break it down to the basic levels, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think of it. Put yourself in the mind of a 16-year-old kid and he watches this film. What are the take-home messages, right? I don't see Brendan Dassey being super sophisticated, that he can break down the story, the narrative. You put yourself in his shoes, and people in chat, put yourself when you were young and you saw a disturbing film, a horror film, a psychological drama. What do you remember? Do you remember the little nitty-gritty, or do you remember the major themes which are disturbing? Jack 61.
Oh, absolutely. It's the major, you think about Friday the 13th, one of one of the key sequences in that film is when, Jason comes out of the water at the end of that film. That was such a capturing. I mean, everybody in that theater went ape shit. It was crazy. That was a long time ago. I remember it to this day. I mean, my girlfriend at the time, she damn near tore my arm off. It's crazy.
Yep.
But again, it's the highlight reel that you remember, not all the nitty gritty.
Yeah, not all the nitty gritty. It's the highlight reel, the things that you find shocking. So if we have a look at the next slide, please, Jack 61. So many years ago, another researcher and myself, we decided to, okay, Brendan Dassey mentions this book, Kiss the Girls. We decided, all right, we're going to we're going to go into this. Is there any validity, or is it complete garbage what Brendan said? Did he just pull this book, this name, Kiss the Girls, out of the air, and there was no basis in reality, right? It was just rubbish, right? So we know what he told Fassbender and Uyghur that both him and Stephen allegedly did to Teresa. So we started from ground zero. Neither myself nor this researcher, we did this years ago, knew anything about the film or the book. So we started at ground zero. First of all, we needed to ask the question, well, did Brendan Dassey actually have a chance to see this film or read the book? So we determined by looking at the TV guide, we look at newspapers.com. Lo and behold, the film Kiss the Girls was being shown on TV in Wisconsin on October the 20th. I also checked yesterday, was also being shown on November the 2nd, right? 2005 in Wisconsin. Now, so it was being shown on television. I think it was on cable TV. We also discovered that both the film, the DVD, and the book were available in the Manitowoc Library to borrow. So Brendan Dassey, we didn't even know any of this beforehand. We just looked at this independently. Brendan Dassey had access to the film on TV, the DVD, and also the book. So timing-wise, it fit perfectly. Timing-wise, he could have read the book, could have seen the film. It was available, right? I'm not saying he did, but both the film and the book were available. So we thought, okay, the availability was there, the timing was right. Now, when you think about it, October the 20th was before Teresa came. November the 2nd was after Teresa was found missing, or she was reported missing on November the 3rd. So Brendan had the chance and possibility of watching it on TV, maybe with his friends, maybe at home, whatever. It was available, it was accessible, but we never knew what the film was about. So we hid the film, and we did this independently, both myself and another researcher. We did it independently. We watched the film, and I got the book, and I read the book, right? And there are differences between the film and the book. I believe Brendan saw the film, and I'll explain to you why. So we wrote down independent notes while we watched the film. Then we got together and we compared them, right? So Jack 61, if we can have a look at the next slide. So what I'm going to focus is on the DVD. Now, the DVD was released on DVD, the format, in America on October the 6th, 1998. And it's interesting because if you look at newspapers.com, it was available for sale at that time in 2005, I think for about $8 US. So Brendan definitely had access to the film. No questions about that. Last year, I'd asked Barb if she would ask Brendan regarding Kiss the Girls. That's it. Nothing else. I disclosed nothing. When Barb spoke to Brendan, Brendan goes, yeah, I saw the film. I saw the film before I ever got interrogated by both Fassbender and Uyghur. That is crucial. Would you guys agree? That Brendan saw the film even before he was noticed and a person of interest.
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely critical.
Yep. There's no point in saying, oh, Brendan saw the film after he got interrogated and where's he going to see it when he gets arrested, right? So he saw the film. He goes, Mum, I saw the film, and I believe he's read the book either beforehand or after, before he got interrogated by Fassbender and Uyghur. That's important. So I'm going to show you a couple of images and stills from the film. You make up your own mind, but I'm going to give my personal opinions. They're personal opinions. You can either agree with them or totally disagree. That's no problems at all. But this is what I found. This is what the other researcher independently found when we compared notes. So I'm going to compare Brendan Dassey's recollections, what he told Fassbender and Uyghur, to specific images from Kiss the Girls. Make up your own mind. Have a look if I'm overreaching or there is some basis in truth. Jack 61, Cherie, do we have any questions at the moment?
I think there's been, I know I highlighted one. I'm trying to kind of keep watch, but no, we're good. We can hold that one to the end.
Okay, awesome. Let's have a look at the first image. We'll just wait till that comes up. Okay. So this is from Kiss the Girls. Why is this image so important? I think it's pretty obvious. What does it represent? What it represents to me is, and these are the main points. We wrote all these notes down. Physical restraint, abduction, captivity, and trauma for the victim. These are the main points. What you see here is extremely disturbing, right? And it's something, guys, would you agree? Something that would stick out in your mind. Would you guys agree?
I would think, yeah, I think so. Yeah, and seeing this image of her on the bed and his statement, because they asked her, how was she on the bed?
Yep.
And he first says, she's chained up. Well, if she's chained up to the bedpost, her legs are going to be spread apart more than a little bit. So
Yep.
this doesn't quite work. Just an observation.
Yep. So here's the important elements of this image, right, of this female victim. A, she's a female for a start, right? She's restrained to a bed by both her hands and her feet. And you can see what Brendan Dassey said when we get asked how her legs were positioned. And Brendan goes, like, spread apart a little bit, right? And you can see here, it's almost exactly the same. So what is important is that the victim has her head on a pillow. And that's going to be very interesting, right, Jack 61, right, Cherie? Because Brendan Dassey later draws a picture.
Yep.
Right? So keep that in mind. The victim's head is on the pillow, not a mattress or anything else, but on a pillow. The victim, the female victim, is facing up as well. And furthermore, her mouth is not covered up. This almost is a pattern match, exactly what Brendan described Teresa. Jack 61, Cherie, would you agree?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't make up a better description. Not really. How he described Teresa to the bed and the way she was physically almost pattern matches this image here. And to me, this was a startling revelation. Think about this. Is that image crucial to the entire narrative of Brendan Dassey? And the answer is yes. Quite clearly, if you don't have the victim chained to a bed in Stephen's trailer, you don't have a narrative, correct?
That's right.
So you need the victim restrained to Stephen Avery's bed. So that's a crucial part of the entire narrative that Brendan presents. The investigators obviously believed him. Why? Because remember what Kratz said in the press conference, now we know what to look for. So what do, guys? They tore Stephen's bedroom apart. The investigators tested the bed head, the feet, the feet of the bed, the posts, the mattresses, the bedding, everything. Jack 61, Cherie,
tore up the carpet.
tore up the carpet, took the paneling off the wall, everything. Jack 61, summarize for me what the investigators found when they tore the place apart and forensically checked the bed and everything else.
Oh, that's going to be. Oh, wait. They found nothing. They found jack shit.
So far, zero. Tell me, Jack 61 and Cherie, when they brought in Brutus, who's a human remains detection dog that detects human decomposition, what did Brutus do in Stephen's master bedroom? Did Brutus alert? In Stephen's master bedroom.
I'll let Cherie answer that one.
No.
Is that to Brutus in the background?
Yeah, I can hear Brutus's ghost in the background saying, barking, saying, "That's right. I didn't detect a damn thing in that bedroom. Nothing."
Correct. So despite Brendan giving a very vivid description, and you can see from the picture, we could ask him, how were our arms? Have a look the way he's placed his arms. Up like that. Look at the victim. Arms like that. Not like this, like that. Brendan, if you didn't realize what he was saying about Teresa, he was giving a description of that image there. You can't even make it up. He gave a pattern match description. The only thing that's different is that lady is not Teresa Horbach, right? But what he gave as a description almost 100% fit the narrative. Now, it's true. Not all the things he described occur to the same victim in Kiss the Girls, the film. It's true. But those plot elements occur throughout the film on female victims, Jack 61.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to talk about it. Maybe you are. But I remember, what we've read so far. Remember last week we were reading through the interrogation, and what did Fassbender say to Brendan like 4 times? Play that video in your head, Brendan.
Correct.
Seriously.
Correct.
I mean, come on, man. It can't be any more clear.
Yep. That is a very, very good point. One thing that Brendan was asked, and thank you for reminding me, Jack 61, was Brendan was asked, play the video in your head, right? And it's interesting that I believe that Brendan got a lot of these plot points about what he was saying occurred to Teresa straight from the film. Let's continue. So, another very startling image in the film, guess what? Is the presence of physical restraints. Chains. And Brendan Dassey even said, being chained up. So that's another important element from the film, the presence of chains, right? Restraints. And these items were present in the so-called household or dungeon of where these women were being kept, right? There were physical restraints. What did the investigators do? The investigators were very interested in the restraints that were found in Stephen Avery's bedroom. They confiscated the handcuffs, they confiscated the leg irons from Stephen Avery's bedroom. Jack 61, Cherie, tell me, what was the results of the forensic examination of Stephen Avery's handcuffs and leg irons? What did they find?
Well, I think they found the presence of unknown female.
And Stephen Avery's DNA.
And Stephen Avery's DNA, yep.
Did they find the presence of Teresa Horbach's DNA, skin, blood, tissue, or anything on the restraints? No.
Oh, Cherie, answer that one.
Cherie?
No, not at all.
None at all, right? So again, Brendan talks about restraints, chains. That's straight from the film. The next slide convinced me 100% that Brendan Dassey watched the film Kiss the Girls. As soon as I saw this, both myself and the other researcher, our jaws dropped to the ground. You got to be kidding me. So why is this scene so traumatic? Because it displays both control and dehumanizing the victim. So even though the victim is dead, the perpetrator humiliated the victim by cutting off her hair. This is exactly what Brendan Dassey describes being done to Teresa when she's dead. Stephen Avery decided he's going to lop off a part of Teresa's hair. Now, what is shocking in this scene is that the victim is actually tied, you can see the ties to her arms, to a tree. And behind the victim, the detective here picks up a clump of hair, right? This scene only occurs in the film. It's not depicted or mentioned in the book. I read the book. What does Brendan tell the investigators? He cut off her hair. This is interesting because this scene is only present in the film. Brendan said multiple times that Stephen had cut Teresa's hair off, which is exactly what you see in the film. Now, did the investigators, despite looking everywhere, did they find Teresa Horbach's hair in Stephen Avery's bedroom?
No, not at all.
No, they checked the vacuum cleaner bag too. There was hair, but obviously it would have been hair from, I don't think from Stephen, but hair from Jody, because they obviously never even bothered looking through the vacuum cleaner bag. Obviously it was different hair. Didn't belong to Teresa. So you now have Brendan mentioning something that is only present in the film. That's powerful. That is very, very powerful. But it continues, right? Here's another still from Kiss the Girls. What do you see here? A knife held to the throat of a female victim, right? And what does Brendan Dassey say? Oh, Stephen Avery took the knife from the kitchen, and I'll show you another still. What do they do with the knife? They use the knife to cut her throat, to stab her in the stomach, and to cut off her hair. So the knife plays a very important role. And you can see in this image here, it's very, very obvious. And you can see the trauma on her face. It's a shocking, shocking image. And again, this formed a central part of what Brendan said. The knife, the role of the knife. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The investigators took all the knives from Stephen's house, all of them. They tested them for the presence of blood. What did they find? What did the investigators find after they tested every knife?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. But Brendan said, oh, I slashed her throat. Stephen Avery stabbed her in the stomach, and we used the same knife to cut off her hair. Again, the investigators came up with 0. So Brendan is saying all these major elements that they did to Teresa. There's one problem. Forensically, you can't back it up. You cannot back up what Brendan is saying. But if you've got a checklist of Kiss the Girls film, all the elements are there. But it gets better. Let's have a look at the next slide, Jack 61. So remember, this researcher and myself did this independently. And we're writing down notes. And we're comparing them. Have a look at this. This scene here, where you've got the protagonist and the female victim that escaped. Look what she's got in her hand. A kitchen knife. And where are they in? They're in the lady's kitchen. This is significant because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack 61, but what does Brendan Dassey draw later on when he's asked to draw a picture?
Kitchen knife.
The kitchen knife. And does it have the same shape?
Yes, it does.
It's got exactly the same shape. And
It does.
what did he call what color did he call the handle?
I think he said black handle.
Black handle, right? And what is interesting is that the female victim actually is cut with that knife. She bleeds and is cut with that knife. So Brendan, and we'll show you later on when we continue our podcast, Brendan Dassey draws the same knife. And what does he say the knife is from? From the kitchen, right? And a violent scene takes place. So Brendan, these are all memorable scenes. Brendan is giving, in my opinion, a recollection of main points that take place, right? He even draws that knife. We'll show you later on when we continue our podcast, because we could ask him to draw the knife, the kitchen knife. If we have a look at the next slide. Now, again, guys, this is disturbing, but we need to show it. Because what Brendan said he did and his uncle was commit rape, sexual assault. And trust me, one of the main themes of this film is violent sexual assault. And this guy here attacks this poor lady and tries to sexually assault her. I'm not going to show you the other images. They're disturbing. The whole book, the whole tenet of the film is restraint, violence, trauma, sexual assault. And this occurs in the kitchen. Now, what Brendan described was a sexual assault in the bedroom. But nonetheless, according to Brendan had raped Teresa Horbach while his uncle was watching, if you believe that. But again, this is another central tenet from Kiss the Girls: sexual assault and violence. And trust me, guys, there was plenty of that within the film. All right. What blew our mind was the next slide. People are going, yeah, but you're missing a vital point. Where's the cremation part? Here it is. Here it is. Right at the start of the film, which is very disturbing, you've got images of female body parts in flames. In flames. Right at the start. I was shocked. They asked Brendan, what did you see? And look what Fassbender wrote. Brendan also told us that he saw fingers. Guys, on the left-hand side, that's an image of a female hand with the fingers. Can you see it? Jack 61, Cherie, can you see the hand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Look at the one on the right on the top, like her forehead. That is a lady's forehead. You can see the eye and the top of the forehead in flames, which is exactly what Brendan described he saw. And here's a close-up down below of a lady's forehead. You can see the eyebrow and the eye, right? So Brendan said that he saw toes, he saw fingers, he saw belly, he saw a forehead. These are the same images from Kiss the Girls right at the start. If you're a 16-year-old kid, these are shocking images that stick in your mind. Guys, would you agree? Cherie, Jack 61.
Absolutely.
I think even if you're not 16, I'm not a fan of this type of movie anyway.
No. So far, Brendan has been able to list, like a shopping list, the major plot elements of Kiss the Girls. But to me, what is interesting is the next slide, right? The next slide. This is something you don't see in the film and in the book. There's no shooting scenario. None of the female victims are shot, either in the film or in the book. Now tell me, did Brendan Dassey ever bring up shooting to Fassbender and Uyghur?
No, he did not.
No.
Uyghur did.
Correct. Brendan never talks about a shooting scenario until, and as you can see down below, Jack 61, would you like to read out Uyghur? Cherie,
Sure.
can you do Brendan and I'll do Fassbender? This is what
Sure.
transpired in the March 1st interrogation. Let's go for it.
Give me just 1 second.
No hassles. No hassles. We just wait for Jack 61.
Okay. All right. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Uyghur. All right. I'm just going to come out and ask you, who shot her in the head?
He did.
Then why didn't you tell us that?
Because I couldn't think of it.
Wow.
Because I couldn't think of it.
It wasn't in the video, and they're
It
playing in his
wasn't-
head.
He's playing the video in his head. He got asked, play back the video in your head, right? Now, notice I'm not doing anything complex. No detailed analysis of the characters and subplots. Nothing. These are the basic elements of the film. In Kiss the Girls, none of the victims are shot. Brendan never talks about a shooting scenario. It's presented to him. His answer is so powerful because I couldn't think of it, right? If he's recalling elements of the film, there's no shooting scenario. He's thinking, wait a minute, there's stabbing, there's tying to a bed, there's fires, but there's no shooting. So it's very interesting that Brendan never disclosed about the shooting, which when you think about it is a major element of his narrative, right? It's a major element because they shoot Teresa 10, 11 times and then they put her body on a fire, right? So interesting. The big element, and also I don't believe there was any dismemberment in the film either. Brendan never mentions dismemberment. So those two elements, guys, shooting, dismemberment, Brendan never talks about it freely or presents it freely. Why? It's not in the film. So if you're just a casual observer of this, is it just possible that Brendan got the entire narrative from the film? Is it possible? From what you've seen, from the images that I've just shown you, yes or no? And also in chat, let us know, Jack 61.
I think it is. And, just taking this a bit of a step further, what if they were at Fox Hills and they were watching this movie on TV? Fassbender and that other agent, I can't remember his name, come back over. What are you doing? What are you doing? We're watching this crazy movie. What is it?
Yeah.
And it's playing.
Yeah.
And if Fassbender knows this, I'm just saying, I don't know if that's true or not. I've thought about this before. But he keeps saying, play that video in your head. Why would he do that?
Yep. And that's precisely what Brendan did, in my opinion, right? So it's very interesting that Brendan recollects the major plot points to Kiss the Girls, the film. The book is much more intense. The book is much more graphic and horrific. I don't believe he read the book and remembered the book at that stage. I believe he saw the film, right? Probably even with Travis, you never know. Be very interesting. But according to his mum, who asked him, he goes, Mum, I saw the film before I even got questioned by Fassbender and Uyghur, by the investigators. Now, there's no doubt that the investigators were very interested in the handcuffs and leg irons. They put in a lot of time and effort because Brendan has said, hey, I saw Teresa chained up, pinned up to Stephen's bed in the handcuffs and leg irons. So now the investigators needed to check this. Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? So they put in a lot of time and effort. Cherie, do you see that slide?
Yes.
Can you have a read of it, please? Thank you.
It's a supplemental report on November 14th, 2005 by investigator Wendy Baldwin. On 11/14/2005 at approximately 14:30 hours, Special Agent Kim Skorlinski and I did make contact with the owner of Intimate Treasures and Adult Gifts. We received information that there were some leg cuffs and handcuffs purchased at the store by Stephen Avery and Barb Yonda. Robin did look through her computer and found two separate transactions made on 10/9/2005 that indicated leg cuffs and handcuffs. Robin did look at the schedule and learned that it was an employee by the name of Dawn that had been working that particular day. Robin said she would contact Dawn to see if she remembered anything about the day or the people who purchased those items.
All right. So they actually found the shop. They actually found the shop where Barb and Stephen had purchased the handcuffs and leg irons, right? But don't worry. Skorlinski went back at Jack 61.
I think it's important to note what Wendy Baldwin didn't put in her report, that these are novelty items. These are not real handcuffs and
No.
real leg irons. They're just toys.
The toys.
They're not really made to restrain someone. It's a fantasy. And I find it so disingenuous that this is not included in the report.
No. You're not going to be able to buy police issue handcuffs and leg irons from an adult novelty shop.
No, you cannot.
No. Right? But they continued. Skorlinski went back. Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? Would you like to read this one, Jack 61?
Sure. Okay. Weber took several leg cuffs and handcuff packages off the display and scanned the barcode on the packages to determine when the last purchases were made. Weber found two receipts, one invoice, number 14089, for the purchase on October 9, 2005 at 2:53 p.m. for one Terraz animal print cuff for $17.25 and a furry leg cuff zebra for $28.75 for a total of, with tax, $48.30. She said this was a cash purchase. Weber said a second invoice, 14090, dated the same, October 9, 2005 at 2:55 p.m., indicates a purchase of two furry leg cuffs, pink, for $28.75 each, and a bottle of Liquid Love Strawberry for $7.50 for a total with tax of $68.25. She said this was also a cash purchase. The investigators told Weber they believed these were the receipts for Stephen and Barb. Weber then provided Special Agent Skorlinski with the copies of the receipts.
Right? So Skorlinski is a heavyweight investigator. He went down to the shop to get the receipts and find out exactly what they purchased, right? But here's the important point. Notice the date, 10/9/2005.
Yep. They made a big deal out of that.
They made a huge deal, even in Cam and Kratz, and I'll prove it to you. They made a huge deal. So can you believe this is way before Teresa came on October the 31st, right? We'll read what Kratz wrote in a second. They're giving the impression that Stephen is forward thinking, right, Jack 61, right, Cherie? He's planning ahead,
That's right.
right? So both him and his sister went to buy these novelty toys because Stephen had nefarious intentions in mind, right? So if we have a look at the next slide, and there are photos that are taken from Barb Yunder's bedroom, and these were found in Barb's bedroom. A pair of cuffs. This is in Barb's bedroom. A pair of cuffs, and see those pink fluffy leg irons? There were two of them. Two of them were confiscated, and there's a picture that actually shows them in situ on her cupboard. So these were found in Barb's bedroom, right? Now, what is interesting, we have a look at the next slide. In court, they're showing Brendan all these things. This on the left-hand side, there's Tom Fallon parading the leg irons in front of Brendan, and Brendan did not react to them at all. You look at Edelstein on the right-hand side. He was showing Fassbender. He showed Fassbender, and obviously Brendan saw him as well. Those pink fluffy ones that were found in Barb's house. Because remember what Brendan said. Teresa's arms and legs were pinned or cuffed. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Stephen had one pair of handcuffs, one leg iron. So that means that Brendan must have gone to his mum's house to get the others, correct?
Had to be.
Somebody did.
Had to
He
be.
got two arms, two legs. So that's why they're parading these in front of Brendan going, and Brendan's not reacting at all, right? So why is Kratz so interested in the handcuffs and leg irons? Well, look what he wrote in his book, right? Have a look what he wrote in his book. You want me to read this one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. This is what Kratz wrote in his book. I quote, while cops finished up in the garage, Fassbender and Wiegert searched the trailer where Barb Yunder and Brendan Dassey lived. They found a pair of pink fur-lined handcuffs and leg irons purchased by Barb on October the 9th, 2005, while shopping with her brother Stephen. Stephen had brought a pair of new silver handcuffs and leg irons himself that day, a set that will be recovered from his trailer in the November search. Note what he writes. There's nothing illegal about silver handcuffs, of course, and Teresa's DNA wasn't found on them, though it might seem a bit odd to be buying metal shackles when your girlfriend is in jail and expected to remain there for another 6 months. Jody Stokowski herself expressed surprise when learning Avery had purchased the items on October the 9th. In a recorded jail call, she asked Avery who they were meant to be used with. Quote, they were a surprise for my new wife. End quote. Stephen insisted, trying to convince his imprisoned fiancée that he was thinking ahead almost 6 months to celebrating her release date. Guys, what's your impression of what Kratz wrote?
Well, he's trying to say, well, he's thinking about, luring Teresa out. He's going to plan some appointment to get her out there and handcuff her up and blah, blah, blah.
Yep, correct. So something that's meant to be a surprise, I suppose, for Jody when she comes out of jail or whatever. It's up to them what they do in their own house or bedroom. Kratz had to turn it around to make it nefarious. So basically the impression is that Stephen was planning to chain up or restrain Teresa Halbach. But the problem was Stephen bought one pair of handcuffs and one set of leg irons, he had to buy 2 of both, correct?
That's right. Or somebody had to bring them.
Or someone had to go to Barb's out. Excuse me, Barb. Do you mind if I just borrow your pink fluffy leg irons? I mean, they're quite nice.
Exactly. I got something to do here.
Correct. Now,
not to mention that they're not, novelty that they can just slip out of them. It's stupid.
Correct. They're toys. They're toys, right? So the investigators, they confiscated Stephen Avery's handcuffs and leg irons, and they forensically tested them, right? Can we have a look at the next slide, please, Jack 61? So this is Cohane's report. Cherie, can you read what's been marked in a highlighted pen?
Okay. Stephen Avery is included as a possible contributor to the DNA mixture profile developed from the handcuffs, item CJ1. Teresa Hallback is eliminated as a possible contributor to this mixture.
Hold on. 1, handcuffs are a bust. No Teresa's DNA on there, but Stephen's and someone else's DNA, unknown person, but it's not Teresa Hallback. Next one.
Stephen Avery is included as a possible contributor to the DNA mixture profile developed from the leg irons, item CJ2. Teresa Hallback is eliminated as a possible contributor to this mixture.
That tells you one important thing. That is, Stephen never cleaned the cuffs and the leg irons because he's got his own DNA on there.
That's right.
Now,
unless he somehow magically cleaned Teresa's off there and left his own.
Which you can't do, right?
No.
Which is garbage. So remember what Krat said in the press conference? Oh, we found evidence of restraints, etc., etc. Don't you think he should have actually waited till they forensically tested those items before opening up his mouth?
Well, yeah.
But he didn't. So again, can you see what the common theme is here? Everything Brendan said about Teresa cannot be backed up forensically. They tested everything. The CSI team, Cohane, tested everything. Lots and lots of items. They were desperately looking for Teresa Hallback's DNA, anything of Teresa inside the trailer. They found nothing. In fact, what is disturbing is Teresa's key. Did it have her DNA on her own key? No.
No, not at all.
No blood, no nothing. Teresa's DNA wasn't even on her own key. So again, guys.
At minimum, to me, that should have been a mixture, Doc.
Yes.
At minimum.
Yes. So here we have an important element of what Brendan said, that Teresa was pinned up to the bed with leg irons and handcuffs. No evidence, no proof, no forensic proof that Teresa was ever in that bedroom. Now, we've spoken to professional canine handlers, right, Jack 61? There's a gentleman on X that we want to get onto our podcast. His dog was able to detect 1 drop of blood in a warehouse, correct?
That's right.
In a warehouse.
That's right.
Yep. Are you trying to tell me that with all this violence that allegedly took place in Stephen's trailer, a cadaver dog has no hits, no alerts inside the bedroom, but alerts in Stephen's bathroom where there's blood? You can see the tiny drops of blood on the ground. Jack 61.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. They didn't alert in the bedroom, but there was a few drops of blood in the bathroom, and Brutus alerted.
Brutus alerted, correct. So now there's a problem. This horrible story that Brendan is saying pattern matches a film. Completely pattern matches the film, the major plot lines of the film. But forensically, Brendan's narrative can't be backed up. The investigators got a problem. But watch this. Here's the real tragedy. We have a look at the next slide. Again, we're fast forwarding, and it's very important that we fast forward. One of Brendan's stories that he says was that he took his bike, went out to the mailbox to collect the mail, had mail for Stephen, and as he was riding back, he heard screaming of a female coming from Stephen's trailer. They asked him questions again when he was interrogated on May the 13th. Have a look at what Brendan now says to them, right? So we're fast forwarding, right? So Jack 61, would you like to read Wiegert? And Cherie, would you like to read Brendan? Right? This is very important. So this is May 13th. They asked him again. Let's go for it.
Okay, Wiegert. Okay, what about Brian?
Shakes head no. He was working.
Okay. In previous statements, you told us that you had left on your bike to go get the mail. Was that true?
Uh-huh. Shakes head no. I mean, Shakes head no.
That was a lie?
Nods yes.
Did you hear screaming or anything like that you had told us previously?
Shakes head no. No.
Okay, so you get home at 3:45 and you play PlayStation, and you play PlayStation until what time?
5 o'clock.
And then what happens at 5 o'clock?
Mom gets home, so I talked to her for a little bit, and then she left with Scott.
Holy shit. He's recanted.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
No.
I never went and got the mail. I never heard any screaming. I went home. That's exactly the story he said the very first time he told O'Neill. Remember?
Right. That's right.
I got off the bus. I just went home. I played PlayStation. And there was none of this crap. I took my bike. I went to get the mail. Heard screaming. Oh, my God. And I saw all this. He completely recanted. Right? And so his recollections, he's making everything up. So the investigator's going, wait a minute, what about Brian? Brian was at work, working. Remember what Brian said? Hey, I came home, I had a shower, went to my girlfriend's. Remember what Brendan said? Oh, I spoke to Brian. He was, sorry, Jacksy's one. He was in the garage.
Working on his car.
Working on his car.
Wasn't even there.
And now Brian is not there. Brian is not there. The whole thing about I went to get the mail, that didn't happen. I didn't hear any screaming. That didn't happen. Oh, my God. What did you do, Brendan? I just went home, played PlayStation. Everyone who saw Brendan said he was in his bedroom playing PlayStation, right? So you can see he's now recanting, right? But it gets worse. Have a look what else he says. I'll do Fassbender. Jaxie's one, would you do Wiegert? And Cherie, would you do Brendan?
Okay.
Okay. So this is May 13th. What'd you cut the hair off with?
The knife.
The knife you guys found in the garage?
Doesn't make sense.
It's impossible. You took it out to the garage and that's when you got the knife? Explain how that can be. Did you cut her hair off?
No.
Then why did you just tell us you did, Brendan?
I don't know.
All of a sudden, what he said on March the 1st about them cutting Teresa's hair off, which is straight from the fucking film, Brendan goes, no, we never did.
It all falls apart. And but they're doubled down now. They're in so deep, they're screwed.
Then they now don't know what's truth, what's bullshit, right? Now remember, Kratz has already gone on national TV sprouting the narrative that Brendan gave him.
Yep.
Brendan now, remember, they asked him to do this interrogation again on May the 13th so they could get a clean confession, right, Jack 61?
That's what Kratz wanted. He
A
wanted
clean
a clean
confession.
and he got anything but that. It was
Brendan,
it was a disaster.
Brendan is now changing everything. He goes, nah, I never did that. No, we never cut off her hair. And it actually matches forensically because I never found any hair. And this is embarrassing because they're going, oh yeah, you know what we get said during the trial? Oh, well, nah, we never checked the bag for every hair, it would have taken us 10 years to do it. Bullshit. They never found the hair color of Teresa and short pieces of hair. That's why they never bothered. It wasn't there. You'll see that Brendan draws a picture where Stephen allegedly puts the hair on the dresser, right? Out in the open. And hair, it flies everywhere. They never found any hair, right? So keep this in mind because now what we're going to do is we're going to continue the interrogation. So we're going now back to March the 1st. So the purpose of showing you that is that Brendan is flipping. He's changing his narrative. Nah, that never took place. Jack 61.
I think we got one more photo in this lineup here. I think it's that one.
That's the one. So this is, we're now going back into the interrogation. And you see how you see Brendan looking down? That's what he did for almost the entire interrogation. Occasionally he might look up, but most of the time he's looking down. He's thinking, he's trying to come up with these responses, and there are a lot of pauses that take place.
Give me just 1 second. I got to take this down. No.
So do we have any questions so far? Anything, any questions from chat? Cherie, do we have anything so far, or we do it after?
There's a few already saved for later. JJ Falk just asked, what did Kratz tell Culhane? Perception will be what it is?
Yep. Yes, we did. Perceptions are what they are. And that's why that March 2nd press conference was so damaging for both Stephen and also for Brendan. Why? Because people were horrified. If I recollected what I saw in Kiss the Girls to someone to say, oh my God, that actually took place, people will be disturbed and horrified. Yet it's very likely that Kratz read the script, the major plot lines to Kiss the Girls on a television audience, right? But you can see they'd never checked any of that. But to be fair, Brendan never mentioned Kiss the Girls prior until Fallon asked him during the trial, right? But by then it's too late. All right. So guys, what we'll do, we'll continue. Jack 61, are you happy to read Wiegert?
Yeah.
I could do Fassbender. And Cherie, are you happy to do Brendan? Because you do a great job on Brendan.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Yep. Okay. So now, guys, we're back in the interrogations. Let's go for it.
Do not sign it. Do not serve it.
And we were going to take her down in the pit and throw her in that water.
Okay.
He came up with burning her, so he set her back on the floor, and then that's when he threw her in the fire.
Okay. Now, let's back up. So Mark can hear this too. You bring her out of the house. You're going to take... You took her in the garage. Brendan nods. Yes. Tell me, what happened again? So Mark can hear this.
Well, he put her in the back of the Jeep. He said he was gonna go down in the pit and throw her in the water in the pond. And that's when he came up with burning her.
Who?
Earlier, you said this fire was going already.
Yeah.
It was? Brendan nods. Yes.
So you take her when she is shot. When is she shot then?
Tell us where she was shot.
In the head.
No, I mean where? In the garage?
Oh,
Outside? In the house?
in the garage.
Okay.
Ding.
Ding.
Was she on the garage floor or was she in the truck?
All right. So get this. Get this. The original plan, according to Brendan, was that they were going to put Teresa Hallbach in the back of her own RAV4, drive her down to this pond, and throw her in the water. Can you believe that? That was the original plan. So despite Stephen building up this fire, the original plan was to dump Teresa in that pond. Does anyone see a problem of throwing a body in that shallow pond?
It's not deep enough.
And what's the body going to do?
It's gonna rot, smell,
And,
odor,
and
bloat.
float to the...
and bloat. Yep.
Now, remember, right? You've got the family members there. You got Chuck, you've got Earl, you've got people from the public coming in, going through the garage, going through the yard. Imagine if somebody sees a floating body in the water and says to Earl or Chuck, or should that person be in the water there? It's pretty stupid, isn't it? And the other thing is, what can cadaver dogs actually detect? They can detect bodies in water.
Deep water.
In deep water, because of the gases which are produced. So that obviously can't be a good idea to dump Teresa Hallbach in the shallow pond. So that's where they come up with the idea, no, we're going to burn her instead. All right, let's continue, guys.
In the truck.
Come on. Now, where was she shot? Be honest here.
The truth.
In the garage.
Before she was put in the truck or after?
After.
So she's in the truck, and that's when he shoots her. Brendan nods yes. How many times? Remember, we got a number of shell casings that we found in that garage. I'm not going to tell you how many, but you need to tell me how many times about that she was shot.
We know you shot her too. Is that right? Brendan shakes his head no. Then who did?
I don't know.
Who shot her?
I didn't even touch the gun.
Okay. How many times did Stephen shoot her?
About 10.
Oh my God.
About 10. And she was in the back of the truck or the SUV that whole time that he shot her?
She was on the garage floor.
She was on the garage floor. Okay. Ding.
All right. All right.
That makes sense. Now we believe you.
Okay. So notice what's happened. Brendan changes the location of where Teresa is shot, right? He goes, oh, we put her in her RAV4 and we shot her in her RAV4. And they're going, yeah, but wait a minute, we didn't see any blood spatter anywhere or brain matter or nothing. That can't be right. So Brendan changes his narrative to go, on the garage floor. They shot her on the garage floor. And both Fassbender and we could go, ticking, ticking, now we believe you.
Yep.
They didn't believe him before, but now they believe him.
Right.
All right.
It's going to try to possibly work for them.
Correct. So what the investigators did, they found 11 shell casings, right, on the garage floor. But there's a lot of problems with that. They didn't find any forensic evidence on those shells. But have a look at some of those shell casings. They've got dents on them, right? You don't know how long they've been found. You don't know what's happened to those shell casings, whether they've been trodden on, driven on. But quite clearly, some of them have got dents. So you don't know how long those shell casings have been present in the garage floor. Jack 61.
Yeah, and as far as I know, they didn't fingerprint them either, and they should have.
Yeah. No, but in terms of forensic evidence, they found no forensic evidence. But here's the real bizarre part. If you look at the next slide, where were these shell casings? Were they hidden? No, the shell casings were on the floor in plain daylight, right? On the floor, scattered throughout the garage. Now, think how bizarre this is. Brendan, we've just shot Teresa Horbach 10 or 11 times. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God, we need to clean the garage, right? Let's get some gas, paint thinner, bleach. We'll get her clothes, we'll clean the garage. Oh, by the way, Brendan, see those shell casings? Just don't worry about it. Just leave them there. There'll be no problems, but just clean up her blood. Can you believe the ridiculous situation whereby they try and clean the garage, but they leave the shell casings laying out in the open? And when the investigators came, they just found them on the garage floor. These are blown up pictures, but if you look at other images, they're laying on the garage floor. So somehow Brendan cleaned the garage floor, but he left the shells. Jack 61.
Would there be that potential and likelihood that the shells when injected, would have landed in that blood if it was actually blood?
Yeah. Yep. And you can see on image number 16 this presence of red material, which the investigators must have thought, oh my God, that could be blood. No, it's not. It's not. Right? So they're putting two and two together. They're seeing all these red stains and marks on the garage. They do luminol treatment. They see these shells and they're thinking, oh my God, there must have been a shooting in here. But there's no forensic evidence of a shooting taking place. What did Stephen say? Stephen said that I had to pick up the shells on the grass because my lawnmower will catch them. And also, what did Roland Johnson say? I used to fire all around the garage. And when the shells flew, you can't control where they fly, including going into the garage. These shells were randomly scattered on the garage floor.
Right. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Yet the investigators are trying to put together a story whereby they shot Teresa Horbach in that garage 10 or 11 times.
You know, and another thing, those red stains are likely either transmission fluid or power steering fluid, which basically
Correct.
a lot of, especially in older vehicles, power steering pumps are, it's basically the same thing as transmission fluid.
That's correct. That's correct.
And it's red.
It's red. Yeah, and it changes color the older it gets, the dark red. Right?
That's right.
All right. Remember what Brendan Dassey told Fassbender? It smelt like oil, not blood, oil. Right? So now, like I said, they're now trying to piece together a narrative that forensically they can't back up. Right? Okay. Jack 61, shall we continue the interrogation? All right. Okay. Okay. Fassbender. Yeah. So you bring it out of the car or the trailer, right? Brendan nods. Yes. And you take her right into the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And where you place her, where'd you set her down?
Down on the floor where the lawnmower was sitting a little bit.
Is the Jeep in there already or not?
Yeah.
When did he take that or go out and put that in there?
Where'd he put the Jeep?
Yeah. Where did he put her vehicle in the garage?
Before?
The truth. The truth. Was the Jeep in there already before you even went to her house or his house?
No.
No. Brendan shakes head no. Okay. So when did he do it?
When he set her down on the ground or in the garage.
So you bring her into the garage. You set her on the garage floor,
Mm-hmm.
and then what happens?
He backs up the Jeep and we put her in the back. Then he says that he knows a better way that he would burn her.
Okay, then what?
Now, this is Three Stooges style, right? So Brendan's talking about putting her in the car, the back of the RAV4, shooting her, putting her back on the floor. But then he now changes his mind. He goes, oh no, the Jeep's outside. The RAV4's outside. So they put her on the garage floor. I think they then shoot her, and then they decide to get the RAV4 and back it in. So can you believe that all this time the RAV4 is sitting out in the open?
Not a chance. No
Does
way.
anyone believe that story? And people in chat, what do you think? The RAV4 sitting outside still in the open, right? And 10 or 11 shots are being fired and no one hears any gunshots. And then Stephen thinks, shit, we better drive in a RAV4.
Yeah, I mean, they got another problem too, because Brendan said when he went over there, the garage door was open. Everybody
Correct.
would have heard 10 or 11 shots being fired, because it would,
Correct.
being inside that garage, it would have echoed worse. It would just have magnified it.
Yep, 100% correct. But this is where it gets very interesting, right? See that picture where you've got the mower and you've got all these marks, because that lit up with luminol. But the problem is with luminol cross reacts with a lot of things, including components from cars and metal, right? It lights up, right? So they're giving the impression that, oh my God, that's where they put Teresa Hallbach. They shot her there. She bled out, and oh my God, it lit up with luminol. The problem is they couldn't find any blood that belonged to Teresa Hallbach, despite Jack hammering the garage floor. Well, remember what Kayla said about the blood? Does it flow up from concrete? So they're making a big deal that, oh my God, Brendan said that that's where she was shot. But if you have a look at the next picture, you can see that Stephen's garage is a mess. There's very little space in there. So what they want you to believe is this, that in that garage was Teresa's RAV4, Teresa Hallbach on the ground, and she was shot 10 times in that garage. And there is no blood spatter, brain matter, bone, tissue, hair, anywhere in that garage, Jack 61.
Yeah, they've left all that out, and that was another huge argument from the defense, because they wanted to create these animations and these slides,
Yes.
and all this stuff was out of the garage. It did not
Yes.
give a real representation of
No.
how it actually was. I mean, that
No.
snowmobile, there's that photo we're looking at. is taken over the top of that snowmobile also in there.
Correct.
Well, where the hell did it go?
Correct. If you have a look at the next picture, Jack 61, you could see what was in that garage. We'll just wait for the next picture to come up. It was jam-packed. There were 2 vehicles there. There was the Suzuki. There's also the snowmobile. But have a look at the Suzuki. How much stuff is on the Suzuki? Now, they're saying that they emptied all of that out. They backed in Teresa Horbach's RAV4, and Teresa was in that garage as well. And no one heard or saw a thing. Jack 61, Cherie, what do you think? Absolutely ridiculous or what?
Not a chance in hell. It's so ridiculous.
And just to prove how ridiculous it is, Jack 61, you're 100% correct. Look at the next picture, which is a cartoon representation of the garage. Can you tell me what's wrong with that picture?
A lot of stuff that's not in the picture that was in the garage.
Right, that's been removed. I mean, come on.
They've emptied the garage.
Right.
Where's the Suzuki? And look where they put the snowmobile.
Right.
Right?
They made all this room
Yep.
so this alleged event could take place, but it's not realistic at all. That's why Beauty and Strang argued so much against it.
It's Kratz's fantasy garage, I guess.
Yep. That basically removed everything in the garage. They've sanitized it. They've cleaned it. They had to think, how in the hell are we going to put Teresa Horbach's RAV4 in there? I know, we'll empty it out. Right? So remember, who saw those pictures? The jury did.
Right.
The jury. They're going, oh my God, there's Teresa's RAV4 in there. That's what they did. They backed it up. But the reality...
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
So the jury never saw any actual pictures of what the garage actually looked like?
No, they did. They did. Some of those pictures are crime scene photographs, right? But remember, the jury never went to the garage. They never went to the Avery salvage yard to physically look at it, to say, is this true? Can you possibly have done this? Remember, you had to remove all those vehicles, clean out the garage, then drive in Teresa's RAV4. It's not going to take you 5 minutes to remove all that stuff. If Jack 61 goes back one picture, if you go back one to 79D, have a look how much stuff is in the Suzuki. It's jam-packed full of stuff, right? It's full. How are they going to, and apparently that car didn't drive. They had to push it. Look how much stuff is on that car. So you're led to believe that Brendan and Stephen took Teresa Horbach out of the trailer, his trailer, put her in the garage, and Brendan gives 2 different narratives. Oh, we put her in the back of the RAV, we shot her. Oh, no, we didn't. We had her out of the RAV4, shot her. Oh, no. We then reversed we backed up Teresa's car in the garage. He never said, wait a minute, in order to do that, we need to remove the snowmobile and the Suzuki and clean it all out to put in the car, because otherwise there's no room.
It's a huge undertaking. It's a man, and it all completely gets ignored in their talking to Brendan in this coercive interrogation. But Naslov says this recreation stuff should have never been allowed in the courtroom, and Willis did. That's why Beauty and Strang were so pissed about it.
Yep, because it gives a false impression of what actually transpired. Logically, physically, it could not have taken place, which is a problem, because you've got the victim's vehicle sitting outside in the open. What did Stephen say in a phone call? I had Earl come over. Robert came over. They were there. They were talking about the guns. No one ever says, oh, by the way, we saw a blue RAV4. You have Barb coming home. You've got Bobby Dassey coming home from hunting. What did Bobby said? When I came home, I never saw a RAV4. It was gone. Something is not adding up. What Brendan is saying could not physically have occurred. Guys, would you agree? It could not have occurred. Plus,
I completely agree. I mean, there's just no way.
Plus-
I mean, if Fabian and Earl are telling the truth,
Yep. Plus, look what's in front of the garage door. Stephen's is it the F-150?
F-350.
F-350? They had to reverse that out too. Otherwise,
That's
how are
right.
they going to put it in the vehicle? It's
That's
in the
right.
way. So they have to spend half an hour, 45 minutes cleaning out all the garage to put in, now wait for it, to put in Teresa's RAV4, then come up with the idea, let's take it down to the pond and put it in the pond. Oh no, we won't do that. We'll burn her. Oh, but then we need to get rid of her RAV4. So all this time, we're led to believe that Teresa's RAV4 is just sitting out near the trees in the open where people are coming and going.
That's right. Because Brendan, I think he said twice, the garage door was open when he went over. So it won't work. And they know this.
They know logistically there's a problem. You can't leave the victim's vehicle out in the open. It can be spotted. So where is it, Brendan? Oh, that's right. We backed it up in the garage, not thinking that the garage was full of junk. Right? All right. Jack 61, should we continue the readings? Okay. I think we just need to drop it down a bit. Yep.
We set her on the floor and he shoots her 10 times, maybe. Go put her on the fire.
Did he say why he shot her again?
No.
Was he mad at this time?
Yeah.
So let me just back up again. So you bring her to the garage, you put her in the truck initially,
Mm-hmm.
then you take her out of the truck,
Mm-hmm.
and then he shoots her. Brendan nods yes. And then what?
We grab her and we put her in and take her over the fire and throw her on.
And the fire's already burning?
Mm-hmm.
And after you put her in the fire, what did you do? What did you do with the fire?
We threw some tires and some more branches on.
Okay, ding.
Yeah. How did you get her to the fire again?
We used that thing.
What's a thing?
The thing we used to get under the car.
All right. Okay. So this is what they showed in cam about the shooting scenario, right? So what Brendan said was, we put it in the RAV and we took her out of the RAV and we put her on the floor and we shot her 10 times, right? And remember what Brendan said, that they'd placed Teresa Hallbach behind that mower. So fast forward, right? If you go to the right-hand side, Jack 61, to show item FL, right? This is in the future. When they looked at item FL, Dr. Palahniuk looked at item FL, there was a big problem. Item FL didn't have any bone shards in it. They found no presence of blood, skin, hair, brain matter, tissue, organ, nothing. Zero. When Dr. Palahniuk looked at the bullet and examined it, if you just raise up the picture a little bit, there's a problem. It's got embedded wood. It's got some cotton fibers, very few cotton fibers. There's some wax. Looks like it's ballistic wax that they use to mount a bullet. But it also contains red paint. So now, when Culhane looked at the bullet, Culhane said, "Oh, I found Teresa's DNA in it," right? They're going, "Holy shit, it didn't struck bone. It obviously can't be a bullet that struck her in the skull and caused the beveling. How the hell did it get Teresa's DNA on it?" So Fassbender, in convicting a murderer, thought, shit, Teresa's on the ground, right? She's on the ground next to her. Notice it's not the scale. Look at the picture of Teresa that Brendan Dassey drew. It's obviously not the scale. How in the hell does her DNA get on that bullet? So Fassbender, who is a co-lead investigator with years of experience, goes, shit, the only way I can think of is that Stephen took the .22 rifle, laid on the ground, right, Jackson, laid on the ground, shot within a few feet of Teresa, missed her, but the bullet grazed her and it went under the green compressor.
Yeah. That's it. One of the most amazing magic bullet stories I've ever heard.
Yep. So they even showed this in convicting a murderer.
Couldn't believe it.
They had to explain, how in the hell does this bullet have no bone shards, no blood, nothing on it, but has Teresa's DNA? Because they have to have idomethil. Idomethil brings legitimacy to what Brendan said. That's why they've got to hang on to idomethil for dear life. Because if they get rid of idomethil, if they come to the conclusion, the logical conclusion that idomethil had Teresa's DNA on it because of due to cross-contamination in the lab, and it can happen. They can't accept that. They have to accept that somehow that bullet touched Teresa Hallbach, otherwise the entire narrative falls apart. Think about this. They luminol treated the entire garage, correct, Jack 61?
Yes.
They luminol treated it. They jackhammered the concrete floor. They were looking for biological evidence of Teresa Hallbach. What did they find?
Nothing.
Zero. They find the bullet months later sitting in concrete dust. 5 months later, a bullet. And Culhane gets a robust DNA sequence, PCR amplified product of Teresa Hallbach's DNA profile after 5 months of a bullet sitting in concrete dust. Yet she only gets a partial profile from A23, from blood. But she gets a full profile from a bullet, right? But also, I'm not going to go into it. She also fucked up the PCR negative control, had to get a deviation request form, problem after problem after problem. Because now, if they don't have idomethil, Brendan's story completely falls apart. They can't put Teresa in the trailer. They can't put Teresa in the garage. So they've got to hold on to idomethil, despite all the bullshit that says, mate, that bullet never struck anybody. It struck wood and an object that's red paint.
Yep.
And
somehow it struck something that's inside or outside that garage.
Correct.
It got red paint on it and went through and fell.
And fell to the floor.
That's right.
Watch this. This is something they didn't tell you on cam. We have a look at the next picture, right? If you look on the right-hand side, the investigators went in the garage with a video camera, and these are stills on the video camera. Jack 61, what do you notice is right in front of the green compressor?
Well, it's a little toolkit.
It's a toolkit. Look at the picture that they showed in cam. What's missing in front of the green compressor?
Everything. There's nothing.
Including the
toolkit.
And that toolkit does not belong to the law enforcement officers. That toolkit, Stephen was using it to take the Suzuki apart, right?
That's right.
They're automotive tools. Therefore, the whole narrative of the bullet going in that direction whilst Teresa Halbach allegedly was on the ground is pure what?
Fantasy. Bullshit.
Pure fantasy and bullshit. They removed the toolkit. The toolkit is right in front of the green compressor. If a bullet at that elevation would have hit the toolkit, it wouldn't have gone on to go underneath the green compressor, right? So they're trying to come up with this narrative. How in the hell did this bullet get Teresa's DNA on it? Not one of them thought it's due to cross-contamination in the lab, right? Either deliberately or accidentally. So now Brendan's saying this narrative that cannot be backed up forensically. Think about it. The only item, the only outlier out of the entire, all the evidence is item FL and the key. You get it?
Yep.
The key doesn't have Teresa's DNA on it. It's got Stephen's, the key in the trailer. The bullet, no blood, no tissue, no brain matter, no splatter, nothing anywhere. Despite luminol treatment, despite tearing up the garage, you have a bullet. Oh yeah, Brendan's story is true. Despite the obvious issues with Stephen Avery being on the ground to shoot a bullet that grazes Teresa and ends up underneath the green compressor, and it bypasses the tool kit.
Yeah.
And in the animation and on cam, they removed the toolkit.
Yeah, to answer True Crime Girl Fangirl says, I watched the first free one, wasn't going to pay, but they said Stephen Avery laid on the garage floor to shoot her.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That's exactly what it was a scene. It was, I don't know,
Yep.
maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds long, where Fassbender's explaining
Yep.
how this occurred.
Yep. So
Stephen Lane basically prone on the ground for some reason.
Yep. Now, if anybody else had come up with that, they'll be laughed at. But because the co-lead investigator said it, they put it in cam. And we all must be looking at this thinking, no. This has got to be a joke.
I couldn't believe it.
This has got to be a joke. This is how they explained how Item FL got Teresa's DNA. I can explain in 2 seconds. It occurred as cross-contamination in the lab. I've worked in a lab for years. I've worked with DNA. It's very easy to cross-contaminate your samples, right? No. They don't talk about that. Kratz said, well, did investigators have a container of Teresa's DNA and they just grabbed a bullet and dipped it in there and they put it in the garage? No. All that happens in the lab. They got this bullet under the compressor, which they didn't see the first time round. And magically 5 months later, oh my God, Teresa's DNA is on there. And that probably explains why Wiegert was saying, don't sign it, don't serve it. Because Brendan was telling him more stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just a comment about Cam, because there's been a few in the live chat. My personal feeling, I'm sure everyone else, Doc and Cherie, have their own feelings, but it is such an unrewatchable
I can't watch
documentary. It's so terrible. It's awful, because it's like they've intentionally went so far out into the hearsay, fantastical world that, truthers are often get blamed with, being crazy and all the conspiracy. You should hear the stuff that they say in here. It's unsubstantiated, uncorroborated hearsay throughout all of it. It's so it's bad. I would
It's
never. You've not really missed anything.
it's pure garbage. If this had been ma'am,
Oh my God,
it would have been absolutely torn to pieces
that's
as
right.
absolute garbage. And
That's
yet,
right.
you had Sarah Fausk talking about her dog detecting ashes, and you think to yourself, "You've got to be kidding!" You have, and then Fassbender talking about this bullet strike. You're in Lululand. Truly,
You're out in
Lululand.
you're out past Pluto in the Kuiper Belt, leaving our solar system
Yep.
with the crazy shit they're talking about. I could not believe they put this animation in
Yep.
cam.
Yep. So think about it. They allegedly shot Therese Orbach 10 times. Remember what the cranial bone fragments showed? It's an execution style shooting. No one's
Right.
going to come back from that. Temple, back of the head. Boom, boom. Double tap. Are you now trying to tell me that Stephen, for some perverse reason and idea, decides he's going to lay in oil and blood and everything and take a shot at Teresa Orbach laying on the ground, whereby he's just fired his weapon 10 times? His mother could come down at any minute in a golf cart saying, Stephen, what the fuck? I heard gunfire. What's going on? Oh, you've got Teresa. Who's this girl lying down there? What's her, what? Because what people haven't done is followed it through logically, logistically. They've left all that out.
Yeah, Chucker Earl could have came by at any time. It
Anytime.
wasn't like Stephen demanded people call him before they
Yep.
show up. Wasn't like that at all.
Yep. And Jody phoned him twice. And apparently all this mayhem was going on during that time. And it never occurred to adults, investigators, Brendan, mate, what you're telling us is just all shit. Go home. Go home.
Yeah, that should have been. Yeah, I mean they
had to
they
persist.
had. That's right. They had to destroy Stephen's alibi witness. They had to. And
Yep.
that's what they did.
100% correct. All right. So we continue reading the slides. Check 61. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So I'll continue. You did use that? Brendan nods. Yes. You didn't carry her out there?
So you loaded her on the creeper, Brendan nods yes. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And you slid that out to where?
To the fire.
Okay. And then you threw her in the fire.
Uh-huh.
And then what did you do with the creeper? Pause. It's okay. What did you do with it?
Put it back in the garage.
Is that in the garage now, you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
And that was what color again?
Black and red.
After she's in the fire, what do you guys do next?
Go take the Jeep down in the pit.
Tell us how.
He drove it down there and...
Were you in the Jeep with him? Okay, now, hold on. Let's get this straight. They just threw Teresa Orbach in the fire. They'd leave the crime scene and they go take the RAV. Are you trying to tell me that they put the victim in the fire, left the fire going without tending the fire, knowing that anyone at any stage can go and say, what the hell is that smell? Oh my God, it's coming from there. They left.
Or where did you get that blue car, that blue-green car, whatever, the RAV4?
They drove, and I'll show you where Brendan says they drove the RAV4, and it would have taken them what? 10, 15 minutes to do the route and cover the car and take the license plates off and
Put them in the station wagon.
yep, put them in the station wagon and also put branches, everything like that, and then walk back.
Yep.
It would have taken them 15, 20, 25 minutes, and they left Teresa Hallbach on the fire with no one attending the fire. Who believes that?
Not a chance in hell. No way.
No chance in hell. You know how big that property is? Would have, I reckon 25, 30 minutes would have gone by. The fire would have gone out.
Well, to
Right?
do everything that was, allegedly done to that RAV and the distance that they would have had to have walked, absolutely.
Yep. So logically, it makes no sense, right? So if we look at the next slide, Jack 61, here's the creeper. The creeper's in the garage, right? And look where the creeper is, right next to item FL. Item FL's down below, right? And there's the toolkit. You can see the toolkit right there when they took the photographs, right? When they checked the creeper, what did they find on the creeper? Did they find blood? Did they find DNA? What did they find, Jack 61?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Again.
Nothing. Zero. Brendan's saying, after we shot her, we put her on the creeper and we wheeled her out, right? Now, you think a body that's been shot 10, 11 times, twice in the skull, you're going to be losing blood, right? You're going to be producing bodily fluids. Zero. There's nothing on that creeper, right?
Well, if she's been shot 10 or 11 times, she's been stabbed in the stomach, she's got her throat cut.
Yep. Wiegert was asked this in court. And you know what Wiegert says? Oh, we didn't expect to find anything.
Yeah, it's all internal bleeding. It didn't come out.
Nothing. But here's the other big problem. If we have a look at the next slide, Jack 61, this will make you laugh, right? You look at if you saw that creeper, right? It's got wheels. It's meant to put a person on it to go underneath a vehicle. You need a smooth surface.
They're made to be used on a concrete or asphalt floor, not grass and rocks.
Look what Brendan Dassey's saying that they did. They put Teresa and they pushed it. Right? How in the hell are they going to push Teresa Hallbach on that creeper with tiny wheels on it over grass, gravel, and dirt? And there's nothing on the wheels to prove that it's been pushed on grass, gravel, and dirt. That creeper hasn't been used anywhere outside. Would you agree? They found nothing on it.
Completely agree. It's just another instance where you just can't get it in your mind. Like, why can't these guys just say, "Okay, stop.
Just stop.
Just get out. You don't know what you're talking about. Just get out."
But Jack 61, here's the other big problem. You want to put the next slide up? There's a dog out there. There's a dog, an Alsatian dog. Think about this. Bear's minding his own business. He has 10 or 11 gunshots going off. He's thinking, what the fuck? The next thing he sees is Stephen and Brendan pushing Teresa Hallbach, bleeding on a creeper right past him. What do you think a dog's going to do?
It's going to definitely run to it. And here's another thing, and I don't mean to be crude or gross, so please, or triggering to anyone. But you think about this scenario, if this had actually happened, all this violence and these things to Teresa. Now, he didn't say anything about putting her clothes back on, so she's naked.
Yes. That's
right?
the other problem. Correct.
This is a big problem. So that dog would have definitely, I think, would have smelled the blood and
other body fluids.
And other body fluids, absolutely.
Correct. So you've got this mind-blowing scenario that Brendan is describing that could not have taken place, Remember, you've got Blaine, you've got other people in the household coming and going, people coming and going with trick or treating. You've got Mama Avery, you've got Chuck. Earl doesn't live there, but you got people on the property. No one mentions hearing a gun. No one mentions cars traveling, moving. No one mentions gunfire, and no one sees Teresa being wheeled out. Nothing, or a dog barking. Nothing. So what Brendan is describing could not have taken place. Remember, Brendan lives, what, a couple of 100 yards away? Not even. Blaine's there. You've got coming and going of Barb, of Scott. They see the fire. No one smells anything. There's something seriously wrong with this narrative. Guys, what do you think? Cherie, Jack 61, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll just read this comment from Nan's Life. Doug Benfield was shot 2 times and there was a puddle of blood on the floor. Imagine after 10 bullets. And, for me, Doc, I've seen a lot of crime scene photos where people have been shot in the head. And I don't give a damn what kind of bullet, 22, 38, 9mm, 45. There's always blood. Always. And generally a lot of it because there's so much pressure of blood going to your brain, man. It's crazy.
But here's the big problem. Brendan Dassey doesn't know when she was dead. How many times was she asked, is she alive?
Right.
Yeah. Was she dead? Yeah. What did Kratz say? What did Kratz say in the press conference? They slashed her throat, but she wasn't dead yet. Right?
That's
You
right.
notice? And Kratz gave 2 different murder scenarios. Dead in the bedroom, dead in the garage. Which one is it, Kratz? Because if she was alive, if her heart was pumping and she shot in the head, you're going to get blood spray. Correct?
Absolutely.
You're going to get blood spray. Okay? They found nothing.
If you're stabbed in the stomach and cut in the throat, there's going to be blood if your heart's still beating. And
that's why when Brendan said Fassbender convinced him that there was blood on the ground, she bled. She bled. There's blood there, but they found none. Right? You've got an impossible situation going on where logically this doesn't work at all. What Brendan is saying, and remember what Brendan says later on May 13th. Oh, they didn't drive the road past Chucky's place. They went round and they went down the Western Berm. He completely changed directions, right? So he's flip-flopping his narrative all the time. Crazy. All right, Jack 61, shall we continue? We're doing good. I think it's 82.8. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell us how you got down there.
He drove.
Truthfully.
He drove down there and he put it back by the trees and covered it with branches and a hood.
How did you get down there? What route did you take?
Past Chucky's house.
You did go past Chucky's?
Mm-hmm.
Did Chucky see you guys?
I don't know.
Okay.
Who put the stuff on the car?
We both did.
Who put the hood on the car?
He had one side and I had the other.
Okay. And he put the car there. What did you do next?
We walked out.
How's the license plate were taken off the car? Who did that?
I don't know.
Did you do that?
Okay. Now, you see the farcical situation, right? Brendan had no idea, correct, about the license plates.
No.
Correct?
No.
Because I don't know. Fassbender and Uyghur already had the evidence going, hey, we've got 2 license plates here. Something's happened to the car. And this adds more to the time. You get it? Look what Brendan said they did. We just drove over there. Yeah, we put a couple of stuff and we walked out. No, you didn't walk out. You didn't walk. You couldn't have walked out.
You know, here's another big problem for me. Who put the hood on the car? And they never tested that hood for fingerprints.
Yep.
And if Brendan's being truthful, his prints would have been on it.
Correct. And possibly touch DNA too.
That's
but
right.
Remember what happened, Jack 61? It rained.
It rained.
It rained on the hood and on the car. So they never preserved the forensic evidence. It's likely washed away, right? So they did all sorts of mistakes. Now, I had a really good discussion. Well, how did Brendan Dassey know about the hood and the branches? And the answer is, it was in the media. Remember I showed you the newspaper, right? The newspaper where you got Pam Sturm. Pam Sturm spelled it out exactly what was on the car, and they had a photograph of the car. Plus, think about it. The investigators were telling Chuck, Earl, even I think Stephen, what they found on the car, and Barb, what they found on the car. It was disguised. It had this. Plus, they're watching the media. They're reading the newspapers. They get the newspapers. They're going, what the hell's going on here? Right?
And never discount what Brendan's hearing at school from his friends. They're hearing it too.
They're talking to him. Okay. So that's common knowledge, right? Common knowledge. But if we have a look at the next slide, this goes to show you how stupid this is. Brendan goes, now think about this, right? They even worked out that to go from Stephen's garage to where the RAV4 was found is 2,623 feet. They even measured it, right? But here's the problem. They drive a RAV4, it must have been semi-dark, past Barb's house. No one sees it. No one hears it. Past Mama Avery's house. No one sees it. No one hears it. Past Chucky's house. He doesn't see it, doesn't hear it, drives it all the way down, and they park it right there, right? And Brendan goes, we just walked out. No, they couldn't have just walked out. That to cover the car, partially hide it, that to remove the license plates, that to disconnect the battery, all of which takes time, and they're probably in semi-darkness, if not darkness, and then they've got to walk back.
Well, wouldn't he have to take a couple of wrenches with him and a screwdriver?
Correct.
No mention of that.
No mention of any of that. They then have to walk back in the dark amongst all the cars, the mud, the dirt, everything. And then, holy shit, they've got Teresa Hallbuck on the fire. They've got to go back to the fire.
Yep.
So can you see, logistically, the whole thing doesn't make any sense at all, right? So if we have a look at the next slide, you could see this is how the car was described, and there were photographs of this image and the one that Nicole Sturm put in the paper of the car hood, the branches, everything there, right?
It wasn't a secret. It wasn't a secret.
No, it was no secret. It was no secret. That car hood got rained upon. Instead of them taking it, protecting it, covering it in plastic, it got rained upon. And my understanding is they never tested the hood. But what's interesting is this. See that guy with his head poking over the RAV4? That's John Erdl. He walked around the RAV4. He was looking for forensic evidence. Did he find any? Any blood?
No.
Any tissue, any skin, anything being... Nothing. Found nothing. So this is bizarre. Stephen selectively bled in the RAV and nowhere else. Nothing outside. His blood stopped. It was only the blood that's in the RAV4, nowhere else. No door handles, no doors, nowhere. He looked, he checked, found nothing outside. not even on the hood. Maybe you see a bit of streaking of blood. Nothing. All the blood was contained in the RAV4. Right? So they looked. So that's, you're right, Jack 61. That was common knowledge, right? But this is the most bizarre thing that makes no sense at all. So you're saying, the investigator's saying, and even Kratz, they use car hood, bits and pieces of wood to disguise the car. Does that look disguised to you?
Well, no,
Are they hiding a vehicle?
It's got shit piled all over the top of it. It kind of attracts. I mean, no other cars had crap on top of them like that.
But here's the killer. We look at the next slide. What did Stephen and Brendan forget to do?
It's a gigantic spare tire cover.
They forgot to take the spare tire cover off, the one that says RAV4 Toyota. And notice they put two branches there, like two umbrellas, highlighting the back of the vehicle. And what do you think Pam Sturm saw when she went down there? RAV4 Toyota. And the
Right.
Lemieux sticker. They did not. So the question is this. Why would Stephen remove the plates and dump them in another vehicle when he had the RAV4 there? He had to just simply put them under the seats. Why? Because he was going to crush the vehicle. Why would you remove the plates?
Exactly. Still identifiable. They'll still find it.
What? You leave all the VIN numbers. You leave all the stickers. You leave the tire cover. You leave Lemieux on there. You leave all the identifying marks of the RAV4. And Stephen wastes time taking off the plates. Makes no sense at all.
No, it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense.
No, it honestly makes no sense at all. Okay, let's continue with the reading. I think we just need to lower it. That's it.
No.
Did Steve do that?
Yeah.
Hold on. So let me move that back a little bit. Well, then why did you say you don't know? Did Steve take the license plates off the car?
Yeah.
And which way do you walk back?
The long way.
Which way? Which is which way?
We were like right to the pond, and you keep on going, and then you take a right and you go up the hill.
Who's got the key for the vehicle at that time?
He did.
Okay. Where do you go when you get back up by his house? When do you go, or where do you go?
Back into his house.
And what does he do with the key?
Puts it in his room.
Where in his room did he put it?
Like under his dresser or something.
Where did you see him put it?
In his dresser drawer.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
But what have they forgotten?
The license plate.
Yeah, but not only that, who have they forgotten?
Teresa in the fire.
On the fire. They've forgotten. They've placed Teresa in the fire. So, Stephen, what'd you do? Oh, we went back to Stephen's house. Oh, what does Stephen do with the key? I put it in his dresser, but he's got no idea where the license plates are, right? In the meantime, you've got the victim, Teresa, in the fire. But wait a minute. They went all the way down to dump off the RAV, take off the license plate number. Brendan never even mentions about going under the hood, disconnecting the battery, right?
Nothing.
Then they walk all the way, the long way. They go to Stephen's house. They forgot they've got Teresa Horbach sitting in a fire.
Yep.
It is ridiculous, guys, because what's the biggest problem if you're trying to cremate someone? You need time and a lot of fuel, and you need to tend the fire up to 6 hours to convert a person to tiny bone fragment. Brendan's saying, No. We just drove. We went for a drive. We dumped the car. We put things around it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Stephen took off the license plates and we went to his house and he put the key. Don't you think your number one concern is that you need to make sure that no one discovers someone burning in your back fire?
I would think so. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So kind of a big deal.
Huge. So if we look at the next slide, the key wasn't found in a dresser. The key was found on the ground, right? On the ground. And to make matters worse, what did Colburn do? Remember when he wrote the email to his boss, dispelling that the key was in the cabinet, that it was magically tucked away, right? Colburn changed his narrative on how the key was found.
That's right.
Right?
He did.
Right? And look at the two people that found the key. Lenk and Colburn. Only a couple of weeks prior, Jack 61, they were involved in the depositions.
October 10th and 13th or something of that nature. I think Colburn was the 13th and Link was right before that.
Yep.
I can't remember the exact date.
Yep. And the big problem is this, Jack 61 and Cherie. What did Colburn say he did to the cabinet? He got it, and what did he do to it?
It was rather rough with it.
And what about
turning?
Yeah, and what about all the coins and everything on the cabinet? Did they fall to the ground?
They were super glued. That's what Stephen does. He super glues his shit to the top of his cabinet. They didn't move.
Right? And what did Colburn say on cam? I didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
I didn't see them there. He forgot his own narrative, which probably explains why he had to write a letter to his boss saying, no, it didn't. The key really wasn't in that cabinet. It was tucked behind. And yet he violently shook it.
Right.
Please, we are being treated like idiots.
Yep.
And what did Kratz say on cam about what Fassbender and Uyghur did to their case? You
guys just fucked up my case.
Because he realized that no one would believe that story. No one.
No. Yep.
That key, I'm afraid, is planted by law enforcement.
There's no doubt. There's just no doubt.
Absolutely noble cause corruption. I totally believe it. They never in their wildest dreams ever thought that man was going to come out and all this shit was going to come out. They never. All they would have said, oh, look, it's Teresa's key. Oh, my God, he did it.
He did it.
Except it made no sense.
No.
None whatsoever. All right, guys, shall we continue? We're doing well.
Okay. In his dresser drawer, can you explain where that is?
Like the second one down, like in the middle row.
In the drawer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go, but I want to back you just a little bit. You're down at the car and you're hiding the car, right? Brendan nods yes. Do you recall him taking the plates off?
Yeah.
Okay. What else did he do? He did something else. You need to tell us what he did after that car is parked there. It's extremely important. Before you guys leave that car.
That he left the gun in the car.
Oh, God.
Huge fucking problems. That's not what I'm thinking about. He did something to that car. He took the plates and I believe he did something else in that car.
I don't know.
Okay. Did he go and look at the engine? Did he raise the hood at all or anything like that? to do something to that car?
Yeah.
Or what was that?
What did he do, Brendan? It's okay. What did he do?
What did he do under the hood, if that's what he did?
I don't know what he did, but I know he went under.
Oh, he did raise the hood. Brendan nods yes. You remember that? So notice, Brendan is completely clueless about Stephen going under the hood, correct?
Yeah, but he left the gun in the car, so
And he left the gun in the car, the weapon
God.
that they used to
Right.
shoot Teresa 10 or 11 times.
right.
No gun in the car, right? And remember, he talked about the knife that they put underneath the seat of the RAV4. No knife in the car either. But Brendan never mentions going under the hood. It is directed by Fassbender. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
He
Just like the
directed.
blo- just like the blood
Yep, and the plates. And the,
and the plate.
oh, we know you did something. Oh, come on. So now Brendan goes, okay, he went under the hood, right? So now the narrative continues. Let's go on.
Yeah.
While he was raising the hood, did you take those license plates off?
No,
Who did?
he did.
Okay.
What did he do with the license plates after that?
I don't know.
But you were with him. What did you guys do with them?
He took them off.
And where did he put them?
He had them in his house, but I don't know after where he put them.
So from not knowing to now, oh, they're in the house.
Right. He had them in the house. You
Yep.
saw him put them in the house. Brendan knows, yes. And you also saw him do what? Put the key
Yeah,
where
in his dresser.
he put the key.
In his dresser.
In his dresser. Where was the knife that he used, or you used? Where did that knife go?
He left it in the Jeep.
Oh my
Oh.
God!
So look at this. You got a problem, a huge fucking problem,
Got several.
right? Brendan goes, they left the knife and the gun in the RAV4. We know that there's no knife or gun in the RAV4. Are you trying to tell me that Stephen now went back to the RAV4 and took the weapons out?
It's nonsense, and they knew it was nonsense. They had to know.
But remember, Jack 61, remember what they did in the interim. They went to the RAV4 immediately
Oh
to
yeah.
get that in and check because, oh my God, did we miss a knife? Did we miss a gun? And of course, they couldn't have missed the gun because they confiscated from Stephen's trailer, right?
Right.
So they must have known that was bullshit. But the knife, they went back to look for a knife. They never found a knife. Brendan is making all this up.
Yep.
Right? Brendan never talked about removal of the license plates until it was mentioned. He never mentioned going underneath the hood until it was mentioned. It's Fassbender and Wiegert that are driving the narrative, and Brendan is going, like a parrot. Okay.
Yep.
Did you do it, Brendan? No. Who did it? Or he did.
He did.
So Brendan is blaming Stephen for everything. Well, I didn't do it. You're telling me he did that? Okay, well, I agree with you. It's all Stephen.
And they know that the license plates are not in the house. They know
No.
they're not.
No. But if we look at the next slide, Jack 61, look how ridiculous this is, right? So we're to believe, instead of Stephen taking off the license plates while the RAV4 is in the garage where he's got all his tools, correct?
Yep.
Correct? He has to bring in a set of tools or something to remove the license plates, the front and the rear license plates from the RAV4 while it's at the pit area in the dark or semi-darkness or whatever. They decide to leave the tire cover that's got all the insignia saying that it's a RAV4 and a Toyota. And then somehow Stephen folds up the license plates. Brendan Dassey doesn't see him. And somehow Stephen decides to drop the license plates in a car right near the roadside where people walk and put it in the back seat, folded up, where he's got ties, he's got snippers, he's got a smelter, he could go to a river, he could bury them. He puts them right in plain view in the back seat of a car.
Ridiculous.
And Brendan never sees it. No one sees it.
Nope.
Right? And low-level male DNA was found on those plates. And yet the state refused to hand over those plates to Kathleen Zellner's DNA experts to say, hey, look, Stephen said, Brendan Dassey said that Stephen removed these plates. His touch DNA's got to be on those plates, correct?
That's right.
You can't say he was wearing gloves because he bled in the car. Therefore, if Stephen's touch DNA are on those plates, how's Stephen going to explain that? He can't.
Can't.
It's the plates. State won't give him the plates. Right? It makes no sense. Right?
They don't want her to test them.
Right? So, with Fassbender convincing Brendan that, yeah, Stephen went under the hood, guess what they magically found? Let's have a look at the next slide, Jack 61. With Brendan's confession, oh my God, there's Stephen's touch DNA on the hood latch. Did you test the battery? No. Did you check the rod that holds the hood latch open? No. Did you check the lever that you got to pull in the car to open the hood? No. Oh, but we found sweat. Kratz said sweat DNA on the hood latch. So again, why do you need that? Because it justifies and crystallizes Brendan's recollections. Oh my God, Stephen went under the hood. So in other words, it legitimizes Brendan Dassey's story. But here's the tragedy. If Brendan kept his mouth shut, they wouldn't have had item FL and they wouldn't have had the hood latch DNA, touch DNA. Agree?
Yep.
They had no search warrant, right? They had no search warrant. What did Buting ask the lab tech that went under the hood? Did you change your gloves? No. Were you in the RAV4? Yes. So hence, you don't know whether that DNA, that touch DNA, is from cross-contamination of the gloves or from a groin swab that we get just exchanged and said, yeah, this came from the RAV4.
Well, it is interesting that Queso is the one that provided the swabs from the RAV4. It was
Correct.
not the Wisconsin Crime Lab. Not that
That's
I really trust it. Not that I really trust them, but
yep. But remember, Wiegert was the one that signed it on the form. And Wiegert was the one that was with Stephen Avery when the groin swabs were done, the illegal groin swabs, and all of a sudden, and when Palanek looked at the when he looked at the swabs, they were clean. Where's the oil and grease and other grip marks that you get from swabbing a hood latch?
Too much DNA, not enough hood latch.
Yeah. Yep. 100% correct.
The old saying.
Yeah. Yep. Correct. So something is not right. Plus, the amount of DNA on that hood latch, I think, was over 26-fold higher than what test subjects did doing the same thing. Huge amount of DNA on that hood latch. It made no sense.
Well, hey, Jazz. It is interesting that they found all this DNA on that hood latch, but nothing on the battery cables because they were tested. They didn't find any.
No blood.
No DNA, no touch DNA. Which doesn't really play well for me because if he's that big of a shutter, I would
Correct.
think they would have found
Be
something
everywhere.
on one of those battery cables.
Be everywhere. And you see, this is the problem, the dilemma. If they give the RAV4 to Kathleen Zellner's DNA experts, if he's a good shedder, his DNA will be everywhere. Did they find Stephen Avery's DNA on the door handles?
No.
Oh, but they found Teresa's, but not
Yes.
on the door, but not Stephen's. If he's a good
No.
shedder, it should be absolutely everywhere. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue, guys. I think we've got a few more slides and then we're done.
Yeah, we don't have many more.
Okay. Let's go for it.
Oops. Okay, Uyghur. He what?
He left it in the Jeep.
It's not in the Jeep now. Where do you think it might be?
I'm sure it was.
Did you see it in the Jeep?
Yeah, because he set it on the floor.
Where on the floor did he set it?
In the middle of the seats.
Okay.
At any time, what time during this whole thing did you get hurt,
Mm-mm.
or did he get hurt or injured?
While we were moving the car or something?
Anytime during this, did he get injured?
Just that scratch. That's all I know.
What scratch?
On his finger.
Which finger was it on? Do you remember?
Probably this one.
Was it bleeding? Now, this whole thing. Remember, Brendan was with Stephen at Crivets, right? So Brendan would have known about the cut on Stephen's finger, and it's likely Stephen would have told him. So, and that was common knowledge about the cut on Stephen's finger, right? So this is the photograph that shows the cut mark on Stephen's finger. So now, what they want for Brendan to admit is that Stephen was bleeding from his finger, right? And hence leaving the blood. That's why they asked him, well, was Stephen injured? Right? Were you hurt? Oh, Stephen was bleeding. But the problem is, you'll see in the interrogations, when they were speaking with Brendan, remember how many versions of how Stephen cut his finger he gave Fassbender and Wiegert? 7 different versions.
Yep.
And he even pointed to the wrong finger in which he had his cut. Brendan was guessing. But that cut is essential, right? It's essential because they're going, oh, we found Stephen's blood in there. Oh, it must have come from that cut, right? But remember, he cut open his finger on, I think it was November the 3rd when he went to Menards. They have to prove that he cut open his finger on October the 31st and selectively dropped 6 drops of blood and a flake on October the 31st. Just 6.
Yes.
And that's it.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Jack 61, do we have a few more slides?
Let's see. Nope, that was it. That's the
We're
last
done.
one.
Fantastic. So, so we're in a very interesting part of the interrogation so far. But I think what's impressive is that just by looking at the forensic evidence that the state gathered up, it doesn't match with what Brendan is telling them. And what's important is that who is driving the conversation is the investigators, Fassbender and Wiegert. Or what is disturbing is that the main elements of what Brendan recollected, he allegedly saw, Teresa being chained to Stephen Avery's bed with handcuffs, leg irons, the use of the knife, the use of the chains, the use of the restraints, the burning episode, the violence, the sexual assault, all of them are main elements from the film. What is not shown in the film and is not mentioned are shooting, dismemberment. Brendan Dassey never tells the investigators about the shooting. It's Uyghur. They try to push him. Remember, Jack 61, what they said? What else did you do to her? Did you use the chains in the garage? Was she chopped up? Brendan's got no idea.
No clue.
But clearly, she was dismembered. And then we have the ridiculous scenario of the RAV4 going in and out of the garage, Teresa going in and out of the RAV4, different locations. We've got Fassbender trying to explain how the hell did her DNA get on the bullet? He must have done it by shooting it on the ground, right? And the way they sanitized the garage, just like Cherie said, you look at the picture, everything's gone. Everything is missing, including the toolkit that was right in front of the green compressor. 99% of people watching Cam would have no idea about what we've just talked about. None. They're looking at it going, oh my God, Stephen got on the ground and shot him.
Well, they're like a lot of the viewership. They don't have time to go do the get into the nuts and bolts, so they just accept it as truth.
Yep.
And and it's hard to get past that. Once somebody grasps onto that and say, look, okay, that's fine, but go read the reports. Don't just take, which is what again, going back to man, which is what a lot of us did back 8.5 years. We're moving into 9 years coming up soon.
Correct. And like I said, when me and this other researcher did the research on Kiss the Girls, the film and the book, we had no idea what it was going to be about. We wrote down our notes. We compared them. We were shocked. Oh, yeah? You've got this. Sure, it doesn't all occur to the one victim, but it's the main plot elements that, remember, Brendan was told multiple times, play back the video in your head. And he did. And Kiss the Girls was shown on TV before Teresa ever arrived on the property. And then a couple of days after.
Yeah, which again goes to, again, this is speculation, guys. I don't know. But was there a discussion at some point about anything like that that's not captured on audio between Fassbender, Uyghur, and Brendan? We just don't know.
Correct. We don't know. We don't know. But there are too many elements that you can completely discount it.
Yeah.
And the one, a couple of things that really crystallized it for me was the cutting of the hair. Now, why would Brendan Dassey randomly say he cut off her hair?
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
The investigators are going, he did what? He cut off her hair. What did you guys do that for? Where did he put the hair? And when there was no evidence of any hair anywhere, and then you saw May 13, did you cut off her hair? No. Did you take your bike? Did you go get the mail? Did you hear screaming? No. He's recanting. He's recanting major elements of his narrative. And that's why you have to be very careful that when you go and do a press conference like Kratz did, you've got to double check. You've got to make sure there's some validity, veracity. The kid pulled it out of a film, in my opinion. He pulled it out of a film, right? All the main elements that are in the film, not so much the book, it's all there. And also the imagery of the females in the fire, right, Jack 61? The hand.
Absolutely.
He saw fingers. And there it is. And then
the forehead.
the forehead of that
Yeah.
lady. You can see the actual forehead. This cannot be a fluke. It's much more involved. The kid's got an active imagination. Okay. He's not the sharpest kid in the block. True.
Poor memory. Poor memory.
Poor memory,
Yep.
gets things
Yep.
confused. Yeah. He should be home. Brendan Dassey's got no idea. And then to add salt to the injury, the farcical situation of both Brendan and Stephen taking a joyride of the RAV4 to the pit and then doing all those things to the RAV4, and then they decided to walk back. Where did they go? They went back into the house.
Back into the trailer.
They forgot they've got their victim, Teresa Horbach, that they shot 10 times in a fire that's probably gone out.
Yeah.
And what did Dehaan say, Jack 61? In order to convert a human being to bone fragments, you need a lot of fuel, you need a lot of time, and you need to tend to the fire.
Even in a crematorium, it's going to take hours.
Yep. And Brendan saying, no, we took the car, we did this and this. And then Fassbender's going, wait a minute, while you were there, didn't you take off the plates? No, I don't know. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh yeah, Stephen did. But wait a minute, did Stephen go under the hood? Oh yeah, I don't know what he did, but yeah, he went under the hood.
Right.
So he's got no recollection, no idea. Fassbender's driving the story. Why? Because I've got the plates.
Then they had to get that battery. They had to get that battery. They had to get that battery unhooked.
And you see that thing about going under the hood. Brendan never said, oh yeah. Stephen said, shit, we better disconnect the battery. And
he would have had to have a crescent wrench or something with him to have got the nut loose. I mean, come on.
That's what Fassbender wanted Brendan to say. Oh yeah, my uncle went under the hood to disconnect the battery terminals. Brendan never said that.
No.
So all the things that weren't known in the public, Brendan never said. Do you understand? If Brendan said, look, when we were down there, my uncle said, mate, we better disconnect the battery just in case somebody comes with a remote control, maybe trigger off an alarm. Nothing. If Brendan told the investigators, we shot her, then you go, oh shit, no one knew that. No one knew that. Brendan never said that.
No.
So
none of it.
What Brendan was disclosing was information he heard or talked to, got spoken to, because he's with his family. 122 days went by between October 31st to when he was arrested. That's a lot of time to get information, and people are talking to him. The investigators are talking to his family. They're saying what they found.
Well, this had to be a daily event.
Every flippant day, because Stephen got arrested on November the 9th, right? So they would have been talking about it all the time. They would have looked in the newspapers, right? That place is owned by Chuck Earl, right? It's their property. They're going, how the hell did this car get on this property? What did they find, right? So it's common knowledge. Brendan never disclosed anything that only the killer knew. Not one thing. Not one thing. If he did, Jack, Cherie, we would not be here. We would not talk about this case.
No, I'd be talking about another case or doing something else.
We would not be involved. If he disclosed something that only the killer would know, we wouldn't be here. Case is solved. But there is so much rubbish and unknown stuff in this case. We still don't know what happened.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Doc, we've got some questions.
Okay, let's go for it.
Not too many.
Okay.
Cherie, can you read these as I put them up?
Okay. This is JJ Falk, why didn't Brendan's lawyer play the part with him telling Barb they got it into my head?
No idea. Well, I think I do know. Playing those, they played the video, the 3 hours or so in the court, they would have all been bored shitless because there were so many pauses, so many breaks. It was so boring. They probably decided, hell, we're not going to endure another hour and a half. But the problem is that hour and a half was crucial, right, Jack 61?
Was.
Absolutely crucial, because Barb went in and said, have you been pressuring this guy? Have you been pressuring him? They never played any of that, right? They never played any of that.
We don't really.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead, Sheree. Go ahead.
I read somewhere in one of the filings, I think, that it was because they said it was too emotional. But the judge has to weigh, is it more prejudicial than probative? And I think that maybe it was a little prejudicial, but it definitely was probative enough that it should have been included.
Well, you either show the whole lot or you show none, as far as I'm concerned. And their argument is, the major questioning had been, no. What it disclosed was Brendan holding his head with his hands thinking, what the fuck have I just said?
Right.
They got to my head. That is the read technique 101. Matt Livers did exactly the same thing. And why? Why? Because he wanted to get out of there. I just told him what they wanted to hear. Right?
He wanted out of that room.
Yep. And then at the end, when the investigator said to him, what do you think we're going to do to you now? And he goes, I don't know. We're going to arrest you. And Brendan's thinking, Mum, where am I going? They're taking you to juvie. You're going to jail. Brendan had no concept. Am I going to jail for maybe a day?
A day? Yeah.
I got to get back to school. No. The kid had no idea.
Nope. He's been locked up since then.
Yep. So that's why now, when Judge Duffin, the other judges, Laura Nyrider, Steve Drizzen, and what we're doing, they looked at it extensively, right? But the trouble is, the truth is what they played in court, not now.
Correct.
And remember, that's where Judge Angie and Josh Cole and Kumpfer said, they found Brendan guilty. That's the truth. So they're saying, even though there was no forensic evidence, the jury found him guilty. And that's what we stick by. So even in the back of their mind, if they got a heart, they must be thinking, fuck, not one piece of forensic evidence backed up the kid's story, and they found him guilty. A jury found him guilty. 12 out of 12 found him guilty. Thinking, how the hell did they do that? But that's regarded as the truth, and that's what they went with.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, Sheree.
What time did they pick Brendan up, and what time did the interrogation start? Could they have played some scenes from the movie for him or in a waiting area just before they talked to him?
No, I don't believe so. They picked him up twice. But they picked him up the first time at the school. They talked to him. This is March 1st. Then they took him straight to the police station, right? So no, there would have been no time to play any films.
Well, they went by the house.
The jeans. Correct.
Jeans, and then went to Manitowoc jail.
Correct.
And a good portion that's recorded.
Yep.
An audio. No, I don't think so.
Yep. No, it would have been straight through. If Brendan saw the film, which I believe he did, it would have been beforehand, because he told his mum, I seen the film before I ever got questioned. So he had seen the film. I believe he read the book either before or after, but the book is pretty heavy going. And Brendan is of limited capacity. Not saying he can't read, but the book is pretty heavy going. The film is easy. Just watch it. Sit down, hour and a half, you're done, right? You see those major concepts, you remember them, you recall them. But it would have been before he ever got questioned by Fassbender and Uyghur. Yep.
Okay. And as to what time they picked him up, I think it was around 9:30 or 10 that morning.
It was fairly early, correct.
Yeah, it's pretty early in
And
the day.
if you go back, Mr. President, a couple of our podcasts ago, we actually go through all the time points. We've got all the slides.
Yeah.
When he was picked up, when he was transported, got taken to his house, picked up the jeans, then they took to the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department.
Okay. Next question.
Whatever happened with the gun being sold by Scott?
Scott denied it.
Yeah.
Which is what I tell you what's really interesting. Guess who's got the exact same model as Rolly Johnson's gun?
Bobby.
The same Bobby Dassey. The same rifle.
Very popular gun.
Yeah, the trouble is it is very popular. There are hundreds of thousands of them in the US. It's a very popular .22. But Bobby Dassey has got the same one. Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Wasn't there a jail call with Jody, either with Stephen or Barb, laughing about purchasing play cuffs?
I can't recall that one.
I think there was. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think they did talk about that stuff.
Later on, we'll play the calls between Stephen and his mum, Stephen and the attorney after Brendan got questioned and what they talk about.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Got to play those.
Yeah.
Put it this way, there was a lot of laughing going on. Lot of laughing going on. But we'll play them, but right at the end. We've got, trust me, we've got a lot more to go.
Oh, yeah.
In this, a lot of stuff, right? Like I said, this is a case that you have to be fascinated with. Why? Because there's no forensic evidence. And
no.
Brendan is sitting in prison for life with no forensic evidence. Just a story. And as you can see in our podcast, we've taken it apart, but we're not the only ones that have done that, right? Steve Drizzen, Laura Nyrider, they've questioned Judge Duffin. Three of the en banc attorneys have said it's just all bullshit.
Well, and a bunch of other prosecutors from around the country looked into this case and have written letters.
Oh yeah, and academic papers. Just they cannot believe. And what's interesting is that two of the judges in the en banc actually quote "Kiss the Girls."
Yeah, they do.
And say this is where Brendan got it from. Yet Judge Hamilton says, "I see no connection," which is interesting. How perception is what it is. And it's interesting. I'm having this great conversation with someone. I won't mention any names in case I want to remain anonymous on our last podcast in chat. I don't see any connections. And you're thinking to yourself, you're kidding, right? And it's true. Some people go, nah, no way. So that's how polarizing this case is. Some see the connections and others go, nah, I don't see any connections. It's like when I showed you the black and blue dress. Some people see this gold and white, and other people go, nah, what are you talking about? It's black and blue. Same with the RAV. It's green. It's blue. What are you talking about? Perception.
That's right.
Perception.
All right. And from this is a cheeky question from our good friend Andy B.
Oh no.
What does a bottle of liquid love really smell like?
I don't
Not touching that with a 10-foot cattle prod.
we're not touching that one.
Moving on. Mr. Preston.
What kind of dog eats cops but doesn't bark at the sound of a screaming woman or gunshots?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Astute observation.
Yep. It's
From
pure
un-
bullshit.
Yeah, from under your scars.
Oh, but wait, Jack's one. But don't forget, they thought Bear may have eaten Teresa Hallbach.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they tested his stools to see,
Yeah.
oh my God, has he got bones? Has he got some tissue or flesh from Teresa Hallbach? So he never barked. No one listened. No one heard any intensive barking when they pushed Teresa Hallbach past him, right? But they tested his stools. They looked for the presence of bone.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they found zero.
nothing.
Zero.
Nothing.
Why no investigation on unknown print on back of Rav?
They couldn't.
They couldn't lift the print.
None of the prints belong to the Averys or Dasseys. They don't know who the prints belong to. And Tom Fallon made the cheeky remark in court, oh, you mean they could have been Teresa's? Yeah, they could have been Teresa's. That's it. Party over. They didn't put them in the database. Nothing.
The 8 sets of latent prints that they found inside, they didn't run through APHIS.
No. That's it. We don't know.
Okay, from Nan's life.
How many feet would you guesstimate it is from the trailer to the inside of the garage?
25 feet.
Yep, 30 feet. Very small
30.
distance.
Yeah, not far.
So that was a big problem. The big problem is you've got a cut, allegedly bleeding Teresa, and even Brendan said, even pointed to his tummy. There was a cut, there was blood, it was damp, dripping. They had a cadaver dog that went right around the trailer. No alerts.
Nope.
So Teresa didn't even bleed. They found nothing.
That's right. Okay. Another question from Nan's life.
If you think LE would never lie, then take a look at Justice for Sonia Massey.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard this case, Doc. It's made the news here. Yeah, there was a woman. She definitely had something mental going on because there had already been one call earlier. But there was another call. 2 cops show up, and they're talking, and she says something about having something on the stove, water boiling on the stove or something.
Is that the one that showed her the pot and got shot?
Yeah, but she didn't have the pot at first because she says something about rebuking you or something. One cop immediately pulls a gun, and then the partner does, and they're pointing at her, moving forward. She ducks down with her hands. She's got like pot holders in her hands. She ducks down. She didn't have the pot in her hand, and they're demanding that she put the pot down. She didn't have the pot, and they keep demanding put the pot down. She reaches up and grabs the pot off the stove and throws it at her chair, and he shoots and kills her. Shot her twice in the head. He got fired. He's arrested now. But they escalated the whole situation. That could have easily been diffused. Easily.
Yeah. I hear too many stuff like that. Unfortunately, occurs in my own country as well. Some real shocking. One really bizarre case was this older lady. I think she was 95. I think in a nursing home. Frail old lady with a walking frame, and she had problems with dementia. She had a knife in her hand. You imagine this, a frail old lady, and the cop tasered her twice. She fell, hit her head, and died.
Oh my God.
Tasered a 95-year-old frail woman.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a court
Unbelievable.
case going on it. You're right. It goes from 0 to full escalation, ends up in a person being killed, and
Yep.
could be totally avoided.
Totally avoided. That's right.
Shocking.
Same thing. Because this cop, the lead cop that was there, he was pretty far away from her. Probably a minimum 12, 15 feet. Because he was in the living room. She was in the kitchen. It's
Yep.
open. It's an open kind of floor plan. So she couldn't have hit him anyway, even if there had been water. Apparently, there was no water even in this pot that was
Yep.
on the stove.
Yeah, it's
And
scary.
he goes forward towards her.
Yep.
So he totally escalated the situation. Anyway.
Yes. Just like this police officer did with the tasering.
Yeah.
A 95-year-old frail lady. You think to yourself, no.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Okay, Doc. Cherie has highlighted a few more questions in the private chat that I've missed. I think most of these we got, but I'll read a few of these out. JJ Falk, this is earlier on. Question: why didn't Brendan's lawyer play the part with him telling Barb they got into my head? And again, we don't know the full conversation between Fremgen, Edelston, and Fallon. We don't know that, but there was a stipulation that they agreed.
That's right.
The last,
They agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't know the full reasons why. And I really don't understand it at all. I just don't.
And the judge may have thought that it was irrelevant.
He maybe, yeah. That's possible too.
See, the problem is this. Brendan's case is a very difficult one. Right?
Yes.
It's either all bullshit or it happened.
That's
There's no
right.
in between.
No.
You either believe he was there and he participated in rape, torture, moving Teresa's car, cremation, the whole lot, or none of it happened. There's no halfway. You either believe it or you don't. The problem with Brendan's narrative is very simple. It can't be backed up by forensics. And I've had these incredible arguments with people saying, oh, well, maybe this and maybe that. And I'm saying, you're speculating, right? Yeah. Speculation isn't fact. What do the facts tell you? What does the evidence tell you? That
Right.
Teresa was, and they even admit, yeah, I can't put Teresa in the trailer. Yeah, Adam Phil, yeah, I see your point. It's, but they won't come out and say that it's all bullshit. They got to, if you're a guilter, you got to hold on to it. You understand? You can't.
You can't go back.
You can't go back. You can't say, yeah, I see your point. I can't put Teresa in that trailer. Yeah, but wait a minute. All this ultra violence took place in the trailer.
Right.
As Susan eloquently said months ago, they ruled out Cuss Road. Nothing happened at Cuss Road, right? And you think that's the perfect crime scene. Outside your property, isolated place, in the woods. Shit, I could even believe that. But then you've got other issues. Why would Stephen then take everything back to his property?
His property, right. It doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. And then you also have to bring in all the other activity at the other quarries. And it wasn't just, if it was just a little bit that they walked through and didn't find anything, fine. But that's not what happened.
This is a very complex case that
Very.
is much more complex than what Brendan is saying, what the investigators are saying. There's some bizarre shit that's gone on here where you've got bones, cremains in the Manitowoc County gravel pit, likely in Mickle's quarry. You start thinking, this is weird. It's not adding up, right? And you only find a subset of cremains inside Stephen Avery's burn pit. And when Pevito was asked, can you tell the difference between Teresa being burnt there and someone getting a bucket and tipping those cremains in the tire wire? And he goes, nope, you can't tell.
And you got another for me, maybe not other people, but this is another big wrinkle for me. And this stems from the November 9, 2005 phone call that Sipple made to Captain Roosh.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I mean, it wasn't just Sipple. Sipple was with a DC, at least one DCI agent, maybe two. It's not clear. They don't make that clear at all. He's saying they found 2 5-gallon buckets full of human remains. Well, number one, I don't know that Pepito would know. I have no idea, but maybe the 2 DCI agents that were with him knew and knew they were human. Well, you got a lot of problems surrounding this call, and I mean a lot. But the biggest problem for me, he didn't photograph anything.
No.
He didn't
No.
turn anything into evidence that he allegedly found. It's missing. It's gone. I can't find it anywhere. And I've looked through the ledgers. There's nothing entered for November 9th.
Well, you don't see much crime scene or in situ photographs at the Manitowoc County gravel pit. You only see a couple of images.
That's
but
right.
where are all the investigators? Where's the coroner? Where's a forensic anthropologist? There are burnt human remains in the Manitowoc County gravel pit, right?
Right. And here's another thing.
There's something not right.
If Sipple didn't know, they found bones. Okay, I'll grant you that. Maybe it's a deer, maybe a cow died or whatever.
Yes.
If he didn't know, he could have simply told Roosh, we found a bunch of bones here. I need somebody forensically that can identify this stuff.
They were confident. There was human.
Confident. Right.
Yep.
That's my whole point. I'm in this argument, sorry to say, on the Innocent Guilty sub on Facebook with this guy. And he's going all the way out to Pluto to try to excuse this phone call. I didn't make the call. I didn't make it up. It's him talking.
No.
Something convinced him that it was human. These bones were human. I don't know what it was.
Correct.
So that brings in another real complication for me, Doc.
Yeah, but also when they took Brutus there, and Brutus was scratching on the burnt cement, concrete slabs in the Manitowoc County gravel pit, and you're thinking,
what they find?
What the hell? What the hell did they find there?
That's right.
What the hell did they find at Cuss Road? Right?
That's right.
We've only got part of the story. We're not making it up. You can hear the calls that Jack 61 plays. They're real. And who was a Sipple who even gave the narrative. Oh, we know what happened. He burnt her in the burn pit. And only a couple of bones there, and the rest he brought over there. And you're thinking,
what?
He only bought. He decided to leave a couple of bones in his burn pit, and his burn pit's small. It's the size of a table. It's not that big. Get it. 1 or 2 buckets. Pick up the ash. Take the whole thing back. Take the whole thing over. Gone.
Go ahead.
Plus, the other complication is there are burnt remains in his sister's burn barrel.
That's right.
How'd they get there? Correct.
Which again is another complication in the case, which is another problem for me. It is, and it's like you said. There's so much of the story we don't have.
Nope. No, we don't.
We just don't. So anyway, okay. Next question from Case 10. Do you know if they tied Bear up somewhere else during the fire or transport to it? And we don't have anything about that at all. There's nothing mentioned.
No. And no one has said that Bear wasn't located in this spot. That's his normal location. Now, I can't understand why they would then, Stephen, would remove Bear, place him somewhere else, and no one saw Bear in a different spot. No one. No. So why would Stephen move Bear?
He would have had to have moved him into the trailer because they were in the garage, and if there was blood everywhere, that would be another problem. You got a dog walking through a bunch of blood.
Yeah, there's no evidence of Bear being moved anywhere.
No.
In fact, when the investigators finally moved Bear, because he was taken to the vet. They didn't even write a report where they temporarily moved him before the vet got him.
No, they didn't.
Nothing.
Okay, another question from case 10. Dr. Silkman, if the cops planted the key, where did they get it from? No idea.
No idea. No. And again, it's only speculation. But I can come up with different scenarios, but without direct proof, it's meaningless, pointless. But to me, personally, that key looks planted. There's no way that Stephen would need a key if he was going to crush the wrap. He doesn't need a key. He needs an end loader, right? And why would he keep the key there? Why not place the key closer to the vehicle if he needed the key? The fact that the key itself was found by Lincoln Colburn with Kaczarski sitting on the bed, literally feet away, is highly, highly suspicious.
Got another real problem with the key, though, Doc. I mean, for me personally, we can look at all the scenarios you named, but the biggest problem for me, there was no DNA from Teresa. None.
Yeah, that's a real concern. If you had a mixed profile on that key, then it tends to suggest, yeah, Teresa was handling that key. That's allegedly the key that she used for the RAV. But that's not the main key. That's a valet key.
Yeah.
Did Teresa lose her other main key? No one's found it. Plus, she would have had to have keys to get in her house, to get in her work.
Her studio.
No one knows.
No.
Plus, she has a Hasselblad camera. Where's that camera? Right? It's not in the fire. It's not in the burn barrel. So it's very unusual. Now, you think about it. The investigators went in that house in Stephen's trailer multiple times, despite what Kratz says. Oh, they only did a cursory look. Bullshit. They were looking for Teresa. They were looking for evidence. These are trained technicians, right? They didn't even call Earl and his team until later, right? These guys came in with swabs November the 5th. They took swabs. They looked everywhere. They were in there for, I think, 2.5 hours. Stephen's bedroom, you can spend 3 minutes in there. You cover the whole place. They checked everywhere.
They went in a little after 7 on the 5th and came out close to 10 o'clock.
Yep, they checked everywhere. Extensive searching. They found nothing. Now, think about it. They're trying to associate Teresa Hallbach being in that trailer.
Yeah.
Stephen's their number one suspect, no matter what they said. He's their number one suspect. They even went in the garage. They found nothing.
Found anything.
So, in the last search, the key materializes. And then when they question Colburn, his story doesn't stack up because he shake, rattle, and rolled the cabinet. Nothing fell off the top.
Nothing falls off.
The spray, the phone, nothing fell off. And he was embarrassed in cam. He goes, I didn't even realize they were there. I've got a photograph from November the 6th before the investigators went in there.
That's right.
Colburn and Colburn and Lenk. And I proved to them that Colburn never shook that cabinet. He couldn't have.
No way. There's no way.
The coins are in the same spot. The paper is in the same spot. Caught on camera on November the 6th.
That's right.
Suddenly, we're to believe that a key went round the corner and landed in that spot. It's pure bullshit. Where they got the key from, I do not know.
No, we can speculate that it came from her house. They were in her house quite a bit. We don't know.
That
another part of the story. Okay. True Crime Fangirl. Why do they never ask Brendan where Teresa was dismembered?
Look, the funny, and we'll go over it again. They gave Brendan so many hints. How did you see her body? Was it him chopped up? No, it was whole. Are you sure he didn't do anything else in the garage? Remember those chains and the ropes that was from the rafters? They gave him all the hints. He didn't know what they were talking about.
No.
The poor person, poor Teresa, was chopped up, dismembered.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
No question. You can't even argue it.
No.
There were saw marks.
Never found 99.9% of her torso. Gone. So there's a disconnect to what Brendan's saying, and he even drew Teresa Hallbach whole in the fire.
Put her in the fire. Yep. And you know that's bullshit. Now, if Brendan is admitting to a violent sexual assault, rape, why is he going to leave out that they dismembered her?
Right.
Why is he going to leave out those elements? He's not. The only reason why I left them out is because it never happened. He never saw it.
No.
Never saw it.
And why would the investigators leave it out? That's another big point.
Because the investigators even said to him, was she chopped up?
Right.
How did you see her body? Whole.
How
did you take her out in the fire? I grabbed her feet. My uncle grabbed her shoulders and head. And we put her on the fire.
Right.
Houston, we got a problem.
With that creeper that was never on the grass or dirt.
And remember what they said in court. Oh, they never pushed her. They held her on the creeper, because even they're thinking, there's no way you can push a human being who's been shot 10 times on a creeper over grass, gravel, and sand. It ain't going to work.
No, it's not made for that.
No.
Okay, I can answer this one from case 10. Brendan should be home right now. He's fighting for him. That's Drizzen and Night Rider. They're still his lawyers. But, the problem being is that Brendan's case was never about for anything forensic. Somehow.
No, it's his words. That's
his words and words alone.
Yep, his words. So
and that's when you get into the complication of the law.
Correct. And that's why this is such an incredibly difficult case, right? Because you've got a person that the law enforcement will say, he confessed, and you can't argue with that. He did. But if you look at his subsequent interrogations, he's recanting, or he's telling him another narrative. So many times, Fassbender goes, we're walking out. You're lying to us. You're walking out. So he then changes his narrative again. So at the end of the day, you need to weigh up. When's he lying? When's he telling the truth? Or when's he mishmashing? Right? Because you've seen from what we've read, Fassbender we are guiding him. What do you mean you shot her in the car? And Brendan must be thinking,
oh, that's wrong.
Okay, I don't like that one. Oh, we shot her in the garage. But then, and I showed you, every time Brendan said something, the investigators checked it.
Yes.
They checked it.
That's right.
They checked the bed. They checked the bedroom. They checked the carpet. They checked everywhere. They're doing test after test.
And finding nothing.
They went back to the road.
That's right.
And what are they consistently finding?
Nothing.
Zero. So Brendan's telling them this elaborate story. Stephen never said a word. He goes, I never did any of this. So independently, they're forensically testing everything. The only thing they've got is the bullet. And Chris Palahniuk said, guys, this bullet didn't cause the beveling. It never struck bone. So that's not even the bullet that killed Teresa. So the state have got two choices. They can say, yeah, we fucked it up. Cohen fucked it up. It's due to cross-contamination. But in actual fact, we actually couldn't even submit item FL. Why? She fucked up the test. She fucked up the PCR negative control. She had to redo the experiment. Oh,
She
but
has
she
two new lab techs inside her workspace training
Correct.
while she's got a live sample from a case.
correct.
I've never heard.
No. And she's used
Crazy.
up all the DNA. What about the key? I've used up all the DNA in the key too. And you're thinking,
Whoops.
key and the bullet, you've used up all the DNA, which means no one can retest it. No. Should have been thrown out. Both the key and the bullet should have been. You come to Australia and try and present that in a court of law in Australia, you get laughed at. In any other court in the world, you get laughed at. Not in America, not in Wisconsin. Oh yeah,
Well,
bullet, no problems.
in a lot of cases here, I mean, now it would be completely laughed out of court. But she,
Thrown right
she made so many mistakes. When
Correct.
she after she got it washed and got her however much was left, she didn't weigh it. She
No.
didn't divide it. She didn't
Potato.
divide it.
No, none of that. None.
And that's lab stuff 101.
Yeah, what you normally do, and I've prepared thousands of DNA samples. What you do is you quantitate it. You determine how much you got.
Yep.
Right? And what you do when you do a sample, and I've done thousands of experiments, you never use up the whole lot. You always keep an aliquot, a sample, in case your experiment fails.
Right, just in case.
Yeah. So when you do a prep, you go, well, jeepers, I fucked up that one. But you've got some more, haven't you? Yep. I'll redo the test. Cohen used up all the DNA in the key and the bullet.
Right.
Do I trust her results? Zero.
Here's another thing you have to stack on top of it. She's been doing this for 2 decades.
Yep.
2
Correct.
decades.
Yep.
Come on, man.
I've worked for years in a DNA lab. Cohen would have been fired long time ago. Long time ago.
I just don't understand it. Why there was not some, and it, as far as we know, there was no discipline that occurred.
No.
So
You've got no idea. If you've worked in a lab, you've worked with DNA, and she worked in a forensic laboratory where your standards have to be here, higher than everybody else. Why? Because your results can either put a person in prison or keep them out of prison.
That's right.
You cannot make a mistake.
No.
She made huge number of errors. When I looked at this the first time, back about 6 years ago, I couldn't believe what I was hearing and reading. I thought, this is a joke.
Yeah, can't be happening.
Had to be a joke. And the biggest one is IMFL.
Oh.
Any lab around the world, if I presented that, I would have been thrown out. I would have been called a clown.
Right.
You're going to present this in a court of law and you fucked up the control and you've got no backup DNA. Get out of here.
Get out.
Yeah. Gone. Problem? No problems.
Right. The control, no control, it doesn't matter. We don't need that.
Get a piece of paper. Oh, her supervisor won't sign it. It's an oversight.
Sometimes you just have to use common sense,
That's the biggest joke of all, because he knew.
Yeah, it's like me doing a scientific paper on an important finding and saying, oh, don't worry, I fucked up the controls here, but please accept my paper and publish it. You'll be thrown out. It'll be in the rubbish bin quicker than you can say Jack Frost. It's gone. And yet, this was a major piece of forensic evidence in a court of law that nailed Stephen and Brendan, who got them in prison. Why? Because it proved that Teresa Horbach was shot in the garage. She was never in that garage, nor her RAV4. That's the insanity of it. Yep.
All right. We got a couple more questions and we'll be done. From Passive Bear, when Stephen's car was seized on November 6th of November, law enforcement said, make sure you disconnect the battery first. Why? I think that in most cases, and I don't want to speak for record drivers, but I know that in a lot of states it's a requirement when
Yep.
vehicles are transported by wrecker that the battery must be disconnected in case there's an accident, gas tank gets busted. They don't want another source that can spark get a spark from the battery, so they
Correct.
disconnect it.
They do.
I don't know that that's exactly what happened here or with the RAV,
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yes.
I don't.
And why would Stephen disconnect both terminals of the battery?
Right.
That doesn't make sense either.
No.
Now you think about it. He's bleeding. He's got a cut, and he takes off both terminals. Are you going to leave your DNA and your blood on there?
Well, of course, he doesn't have any gloves on. Clearly,
Nothing.
nothing.
And that's going to take time. All going to take time in the dark.
Yep.
No.
Okay. JJ Falk, maybe they should have tested the human eating zipper dog. No, they didn't. Did they? No, they didn't test Zipper's dog. No. Thank you. From Under Your Scars. Thank you. Missing my gun question. I guess we did. Under Your Scars. I apologize. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all we've got.
Awesome. Again, guys, look, thank you so much for your patience and persistence. This is not an easy set of podcasts to do, but I think they're important. I think it's really important that we're doing this deep dive, and we've got so much more to give and to do in this particular case. And again, to me, it's pretty obvious. The prize was not Brendan Dassey. The prize was Stephen. The prize was to nail Stephen, to get at him, to put him back in prison, to blame him for the murder of Teresa Hobart. In order to successfully do that, they had to get through Brendan. Basically, Jody Stokowski told him to bugger off. I'm not going to talk to you guys anymore. So Brendan was the weakest link. Brendan was the person that provided the narrative of what happened to Teresa Hobart. The problem is the forensic evidence does not back up Brendan's narrative. Zero. And this leads to further questions. Did the investigator show so much investigator bias and tunnel vision that they never thought, Brendan, mate, what you're telling us is not making any sense? And it's interesting that case 10 mentioned something about Bear. What case 10 did was introduce another hurdle that had to be jumped. Shit, maybe Stephen moved Bear, right? So you're introducing all these extra elements to make the story work, rather than doing the obvious, the Occam's razor, that shit didn't happen, right? You got to put all these dominoes in place for Brendan's narrative to work.
Oh my God.
Oh, maybe they moved Bear. How about if they didn't? Why would Stephen do that? Well, why? In anticipation, right? Showing intent, right? Why would Stephen leave the RAV4 out there for hours in broad daylight?
The risk of anybody seeing it. I mean, we said earlier, actually very early on.
Yep.
And last week.
Yep.
If that RAV was sitting out there beside that tree.
Yep.
Anyone could have seen it.
Yep.
And probably would have. I mean, the yard was open as far as I know.
Yeah. So now you've got to introduce all these elements where you've got no proof, but you have to introduce them, because now you're thinking, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And when that question we get in court, I've got to do it. We've got to do it. We've got to do the slides where he responds. Mark Krieger goes, oh, yeah, didn't expect it. No, we wouldn't have found that. Oh, I'm not surprised. So he gave a negative answer to everything. The reason why that's dangerous is that someone can come up to you and accuse you of a crime, and because you've got no proper alibi or evidence against you, you could be sent to prison. Yeah, but I never did any of that. Oh, yeah, but... And that's exactly what happened to Brendan. With Stephen, you have forensic evidence. And Stephen goes, they planted it on me. But Brendan is giving a narrative that the forensic evidence doesn't back up. And that's a problem. And it's accumulative. It's accumulative. What did you see, Brendan? She was chained up to the bedpost. Fuck. We checked the leg irons. Nothing. We checked the cuffs. Nothing. We checked the bedpost. Nothing. We checked the bed. Nothing. We ripped off the carpet. Nothing. We put a cadaver dog in there. Nothing. We ripped off the paneling. Nothing. We put a cadaver dog outside the property. No alerts. We looked in the burn pit, but we didn't take any photos.
Right. We didn't document any of that.
No. So can you see that when you start looking at everything objectively, forget about Stephen, forget about Brendan, something is not making sense.
Not working.
And I can explain the whole thing by someone getting a bucket and just tipping some cremains in that burn pit and in the burn barrel. 2 buckets, boom, done. And that's a scary thing.
To this day, they do not know where Teresa was killed. None of us do. We do not know. That's a fact. I don't know.
Yet, they can semi-answer that by handing over the RAV.
Yes.
Hand it over.
Yep. Hand over the license plate.
If Stephen is guilty and Brendan are guilty, we're the first ones on this panel to admit.
That's right. I'm done.
We're done. But the way we're doing our podcast, I'm not going to change a word of what I've said because of the investigation. And what if Fassbender admit on cam? Mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, big one. He thought, but he had a hard time getting that out. He was really hesitant to say mistakes.
Yep, especially when I appeared on cam. Remember? I said the first thing you do is you take photographs. Oh, yeah, we should have taken photographs. We should have got a coroner. Hello? The horse is bolted, mate.
That's right.
All right. Well, look, again, thank you so much for joining us. And please consider subscribing. And if you like our video, put your DNA on the thumbs up button and share our podcasts. And I'll just quickly go over the around the panel. Jack 61, how about yourself? What are you up to?
Well, pretty much the same old, same old. Nothing new to report on the open records request. Well, it's kind of a waiting game. This game that they began playing with me last year. So
yes.
still waiting on something there. Tomorrow for the open mic, we'll be continuing on with November 11, Channel 7, Part 2. Now, I think it's a couple hours long. If there's time, we'll move on into November 12. If not, then we'll just clip it there. But we're almost done with the calls. All the dispatch calls.
Yeah, some very interesting ones. Very interesting ones.
There has been, for sure. Just a lot of things that are said that I still can't get any full information on that I think we all should have that we probably will never get. The missing November 4th, 2005 dispatch calls from Manitowoc. That's another huge black hole that, again, why? What happened to those? Go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say, from what I've gathered from listening to the calls, is very disturbing because people rang in for tips all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they acted upon them. They acted upon him.
Yep.
They went to investigate, and they phoned the people up. But something happened with Tom Sawinski, in which there was no follow-up as far as we're aware.
No.
So he rang, and all of a sudden, it just disappeared. Whereas
Disappeared.
other people rang in. Oh, I saw some car, or I heard this, and maybe you should check this out. And they phoned. They phoned those people. There's a case I report. There's a DCI report. Tom Sawinski?
Nothing.
Nothing. It's gone.
Yeah, that's really, really strange considering the tip that he gave to Singlob, and
Yep.
we have nothing. We have nothing.
Gone.
Gone. Yeah.
Gone.
But anyway,
Yep.
yeah. So join us tomorrow at Bow Central, and we'll get started and see where we get. Really appreciate everybody that's jumped in and have been part of this conversation about Brendan. There's so much more to go. Oh my God, Silkman, Dr. Silkman, and Deborah have done a great job. It's hard, but it's good to talk about this. It's better to talk about it than not.
Correct. But the thing is, it brings in all the elements together.
Yeah.
Together. And can you provide an alternative? Can you provide something that's reasonable, that makes sense? Right? And we can see it. We can see it with our own eyes. We can see it in the responses that Brendan is giving. And we can see the guidance and the way the narrative is being steered by both Fassbender and Uyghur. Interesting. Uyghur's disappeared.
Yeah, he did.
Won't talk about nothing.
Yep.
Fassbender and Kratz were the ones that going around different channels. Oh, we believe the interrogation was real. How in the hell can you say that when Brendan is more flip-flopping than the gymnasts at the Olympics? It's ridiculous.
Toggle disappeared too. Toggle and Uyghur's like they're out. They're gone.
They've achieved their aim. They've got Stephen in prison for life.
And they're out.
Brendan in prison for life. And they blame the grandfather, the family, for not doing a plea deal. But we're reading this in real time. It's a mess.
Yeah. Disaster.
Absolute disaster.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Now I was going to flip it to Cherie.
Oh, I was just going to say before Cherie, I want to thank everybody again for jumping in and having a part of this conversation, and look forward to the next one.
Correct. Thank you so much, Jack61. And next we have Cherie. Cherie, how are you coming along?
I'm doing well. It was very interesting once again, and thank you. I'm still watching Karen Reed, so that is wow.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Such a disaster. Oh my God.
Yeah.
If there's many cases that could be as bad as this one, Karen Reed is definitely one of them. Oh my God.
The I haven't researched much into it, but I immediately saw the parallels. When you're going up against the police force, you're very unlikely to win because it is a brotherhood. They control all the evidence. They gather the evidence. They control the evidence. Stuff goes missing. Stuff disappears. Stuff appears out of nowhere. They control the narrative. You're gone. Just about gone.
Cherie, she probably may have heard this, but I didn't know this until a couple of days ago. Nosy posted it, that in addition to this proctor that testified and all the stuff that they got off his phone, there were two other troopers. Their phones were going to be seized on a certain day. Well, they both got rid of their phones the day before.
Oh, yeah.
Destroyed them.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
They're in law enforcement. They know how to manipulate a crime scene. They know what to do, right? They're in that area, right? Someone who works in a DNA lab knows how to manipulate data, knows how to manipulate DNA. They work with it, right? I could be working at my workbench with tubes of DNA, with labels and stuff on it. You got no idea what's in them. I do. You don't.
Right.
Can't see DNA. Can't taste DNA. It's invisible, right? You got no idea how easy it is, right?
Right.
If you're in the police force and you're handling the evidence, you've been in that trade for many, many years. You've seen how criminals work. For you, piece of cake. Just ask David Cofford. Did the same thing.
God.
How the victim's blood got from his house into a car.
Especially where he found it. It's ridiculous, man.
Yep.
Up under the dash.
That car was checked and was clean. He goes in and checks it again.
Finds it.
Oh, look.
Voila.
I found the victim's blood. Yep.
Yes, James, we can see your post. Have I missed something? I apologize if we've missed it. Let me look here. Did you have a question before we jump? We're actually fixing to jump out, but you have a question, James? We can answer right quick.
Yep. If not,
he said just checking. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Cherie.
Yeah, Cherie.
No, that's all I had. How about you, Mr. Silkman, or Dr. Silkman, I mean?
Yeah, been good, feeling better, thank God. But yeah, been very, very busy. I spent a lot of time on this case, and Brendan deserves it. Like I said, his story is a hard one. Doesn't have the allure or the attraction of talking about the case with Stephen, because Stephen is a very polarizing, controversial figure. Same with Kathleen Zellner. But Brendan's narrative is just as important. And so that's why I want to present to you the story, and no stones unturned. We've got a lot to do, lot to go. And we hope that people are learning new stuff. And yeah, so touch wood, we'll be back next week for another installment. So yeah, look, thank you so much, guys. And we will catch you all on the open mic. Take care, everyone.
Hey, thanks, everybody. This has been Foul Play Production.